listening to a program on TV, not mainstream TV. Somebody asked, how does the CEO of Ukraine have a $25 million house around the corner from Donald Trump's?
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Because one of my Cuban guys, the Goomba brothers, I call him, he lives catty corner from Trump. Mar-a-Lago lives catty corner right there.
Wow.
And so, in fact, the last time that I was on your show, I didn't drive. Somebody drove me from there to your office.
Yeah, because it's right down from it.
Yeah.
I'm just at the end. Played the card good.
Yeah.
I learned that from you.
Yeah.
When I first got that place, I didn't have a lot of money, but it was Palm Beach Island. So even though I didn't have a lot of money, I was paying.
Doesn't matter.
The office was more than my house and my car combined. But I could say, hey, I'm the engineering firm in Palm Beach Island. So people would think, well, he's got to be good if he's got an office there.
In the old days, Newport Beach, the main island, I mean, it was a license to steal.
Kobe lived there. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
All right, we got the famous Dan Pena, luckily giving me his time again. Thank you so much for coming back in. You got the QLA coming up again?
Yep, in May.
May, and then you're doing 7 days?
Well, you arrive one day one, you leave day 7.
You leave day 7. If you could survive?
Yeah, well, it says normally if they can survive. I'm not too worried about surviving.
Now, we were talking before about how everything's changed, and how do you find another Steve Jobs, another Elon Musk?
I say sarcastically, with great difficulty. And they're a product of their backgrounds. You know, Steve was adopted. Steve went to, depending on what story you want to believe, he either went to university 3 days or 3 weeks. I'm not sure which is true, although I did some work for him back in the 80s. And Elon Musk, although his dad had money, he was a product of tough love. Steve used to say, I'm a product of no love. And so Elon was a product of tough love. And so, but it's with great difficulty. And now, especially because of social media, you know, the kids, not just that, because the parents have failed as parents, they want you to treat them like they're already successful. You want to treat them like they've already got 20, 30 years of experience. They want to be treated in some sort of elite form. And although the world, unfortunately, is moving that way, that's not how it is. You still got to earn your stripes. A lot of kids earn their stripes very quickly now because they make a lot of money. But Zuckerberg, who I've never met, got it right in that he can never be thrown out because he talked to some of the guys in Silicon Valley that had been thrown out. And so he formed a company structure which is loosely called major shareholder friendly.
Now, when you say he could never be thrown out,
He can't.
What do you mean by
Because the
that?
shareholder, he has all the votes that count.
He does.
He has, well, some people call them golden votes, some people call them super votes, but they have more than one share voting power.
Wow, and that's legal?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. The guy that invented the idea, God rest his soul, was Henry Ford I.
Wow.
Oh man, that's why there's still a Ford CEO, Clayton, and there's still Ford over the, the door or at the factory, because he wanted to make sure he knew that his progenies were going to be dog shit.
Wow.
Okay, so his slick lawyers, and I think they might have been even Philadelphia lawyers, the slick lawyers set up the company so no matter what happens, okay, now you got to stay in business,
Right.
okay, but no matter what happens, that he can't be voted out. And so the Ford Foundation owns voting control, unless it's been changed. I had the privilege of attending a couple of Ford Foundation board meetings.
What?
But the Ford Foundation owns super shares. I have some of my mentees, when they set it up, they set it up as super shares. Now, somehow, I don't know why, mainly because the young bankers are morons, they miss that almost every time. Because I wouldn't loan you $1 if you had super shares, and I could never throw you out. Now, if you embezzle, you still can go to jail and all that stuff. But the other shareholders have a de minimis amount of voting power. And so Zuckerberg followed that model. And he was able to get through the first 3 or 4 or 5 fundings. Normally, they make a change.
Right.
Okay, but if you remember way back when, 10, 15 years ago, whenever it came public, it was such a hot deal. They allowed him to stay. And so now, he's certainly not going to give that up. Of course, now he's got plenty of money to fight. Normally, when you get started, you acquiesce to whatever the fucking bank wants. I mean, because you need the money. You know, you're desperate for the money. But Henry Ford said it or did it first, and his famous saying is, "I need another pair of hands." In other words, he needs more. But unfortunately, it always comes with the body.
Right.
He only really wants the hands, but it comes with another body, and that's where we are.
Did you know that about Zuckerberg?
I didn't know. I didn't know the exact mechanics, but I know he structured everything very intelligently from the day one.
Oh yeah.
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 Now, what do you think about, they're doing this whole TikTok China thing, blah, blah, blah. But if you dig deep, it looks like Zuckerberg's coming around the corner and may buy TikTok.
He may, yeah.
Now, say he does. He's already in bed with the government. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay, so now he has Facebook, Instagram, Threads, which was just a joke to throw off Twitter. Basically, he would then have all of the social media other than X,
That counts.
the counts,
Yeah.
that would then be controlled by the government.
What happened to the Zuckerberg Elon Musk fight?
Yeah, I thought they were going to do.
And I think
MMA
last
fight.
time I was here, I said, I'll fight the winner.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I mean,
He
what
did,
happened?
he did.
What happened to this fucking fight? Anyway, but
I heard two stories. The first story was that Elon's mom kept telling him not to do it. And the other story was that Zuckerberg had a meeting when Elon had it set up to do. So,
well, I mean,
I don't know.
if under normal circumstances, unless he's Bruce Lee or something, the Zuckerberg, a 192-pound guy normally is going to kick the shit out of a 148-pound guy. Normally, not always. And I don't think Zuckerberg, although he showed him working out, for his yellow belt or whatever belt he's got in jiu-jitsu. But that's unlike the fight that's hopefully going to come up, Jake Paul
yeah.
and
Tyson.
Yeah, and Tyson. And
And
I
Elon.
personally think that Tyson can still hit.
Also, yeah.
I personally say. Now, those workouts they're showing, you can't fake that.
No.
Now, you can speed up the camera, you can do a bunch of, but that looks pretty real.
Yeah, I don't want a punch from Mike Tyson.
No.
And remember, Elon's mad. He's got a lot inside of him. And when he was selling all his houses, at first I'm like, why is he doing that? He was doing that because his daughter, she got into this whole agenda shit.
He's a guy now.
She's a guy now, so then she hates any billionaire, anybody in that life. So he sold all his houses, hoping that she would come talk to him again. I mean, I'm not, nothing against him. I hate talking about family shit. He sold all that shit and still doesn't come. So you take that anger into a cage, no thank you. He ends Zuckerberg quick.
Yeah, I would expect to. I would expect so as well.
Does Tyson beat Paul?
Yeah.
Set up?
Yeah. And if they're using real gloves, there's a bunch of ifs.
Yes, right.
I think. Now, I was on the Paul show, not Jake, but his brothers, and that was the beginning of his fighting career. And in the house that they had a big mansion kind of thing in San Fernando Valley, and it had a ring outside, all the stuff that you would normally have in a gym. And he was telling me about his brother going to fight, and I sent him an email. We were talking about old man, because at that time I was about 72 or 3 or 4 or something like that. And I said, I'm what's called a telephone booth fighter. I get in close and I bite your jugular vein, and then the fight's over. Okay?
Goodbye.
Yeah. And so I sent him an email. Tell your brother, I know it's probably not apropos, and I'm only talking about metaphorically, but if you get in close, this was his first fight. I bite him in the jugular vein. A la Tyson biting the ear off of Holyfield back decades ago.
Now, did you learn the hypothetically thing through a legal lawsuit?
No.
Oh, I did. Just,
I didn't.
so we were talking also about the Iran thing. So now, the way I look at it is Israel went and killed their commander and 6 officers, right?
4 of the top 7 guys.
4 of the top 7 guys. So if Iran doesn't throw something back,
He's got
to, right?
Correct.
And they gave plenty of warning. They didn't
Well, that's
really.
a new war for everybody. Tells everybody.
Yeah, fucking nut shit. And they didn't really hit anything. I think they should let it go, just like Trump did when he took out that guy while he was eating at dinner. They fired back, but he's like, okay, I understand you have to do this for your country, blah blah blah. Now, does Israel fire back? I mean, that's the danger.
Well, some people think that Netanyahu is pressed to do that to keep his job.
Oh.
Okay, there's a lot of people not happy with him. I don't know. I've never met him. But I've been in business with the Israelis. I've been in business with people from the Middle East, the Saudis and the Kuwaitis, and that's never going to get settled. I mean, I've been, in Gaza, where they are now, with Sally and I, and it's just never going to get settled. The hatred, you can taste the hatred when you walk down the streets.
It's that bad.
Yeah,
Huh?
and when I used to go from Israel to a Middle Eastern country, I had 2 passports in those days, which was legal, and they'd always remind me, make sure that you don't show your other passport with the stamps from Israel, and vice versa. They were both congenial about it, with somebody that's doing business with both. But I wasn't in the war effort, but I wasn't in the oil business. So, but I got away with it, and I know other people have gotten away with it. But that's a boil that has festered for thousands of years. I don't think it's going to change. I just don't.
Now, if they do fire back, how would that affect America?
Well, America's already said, as of this morning, or was it late last night, we will not come to the aid of Israel to defend her. Okay, they did use supposedly planes to help shoot down Iranian rockets last night, early this morning, but as many Jew votes that they have in the United States that Biden can't afford. Forget the moralistic aspect.
Yeah, he's in a pickle.
Yeah, Biden can't afford to be putting boots on the ground. He doesn't put boots on the ground in Ukraine. I'm not saying he should. Okay, there was a deal on BBC a few nights ago late, and it said that right now there's 40 wars around the world, 40, and then they went through them quickly with pictures, etc. But there's always been about 20, 30 wars. So, but now the boiling points, and Congress is getting pissed off. They don't want to put any more money from Ukraine. Now, all the things that Putin says about Ukraine are not lies. All are not lies.
If you listen to that Putin interview, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And if you calm the noise, everything that man said is right. Even when he was saying about like killing people, he's like, well, don't you guys do that?
Yeah.
He schooled Tucker. He took him to the cleaners.
And he's got ice cold veins or whatever runs through his veins. But he's a dictator type that has turned politician. Okay. Most of our politicians are politicians that stay politicians. But, U.S. is tired of spending money. And whether they're losing now to the Russians because they're incompetent or they're not as good, or they're losing because we don't give them enough money to buy enough bullets. But I know if it's where there's smoke, there's fire. If they're only being able to fire 1 bullet for every 10, a brain dead field commander is just overwhelmed with bullets.
Right. Now, when you look at the whole picture of all this, they say there's 10. Peter McCullough had said about critical thinking that people no longer critical think. So if you step back and you see 10 million people came in through the border. Where are they? We're in South Beach right now. I didn't see any. Did you see any people? Peter was just in New York. He didn't see many people. How could 10 million? He wasn't saying no one's crossed. And then he had said, well, when Trump had first ran, what do you want to do? Build a border. So there was still an immigrant problem now. But then there's a microscope on it. The Ukraine war, like you said, he's got a house by Trump. The guy's got a perfect haircut every time he's on TV.
Supposedly he's got 700 or 800 million euros in the bank.
I mean, he looks great for a guy in the middle of a fucking war.
He was a comedian, which he was a poor comedian, and then he was a mayor, didn't get paid any money, and then Putin invaded Ukraine, whatever you want to call it, and now he's a gazillionaire.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
So his question was, this is a worldwide thing. When you go from the border to the wars to the cutting your dick off, cutting tits off, what they're teaching in school, who's behind it, Mr. Pena? Who's behind it?
well, there's a bunch of theories. One of which is Soros, who's getting old now. He turned it over to his kid, who apparently is crazier than he is.
But isn't this bigger than a Soros or Larry Page?
This is it's like global warming that isn't global warming. Everything's cyclical. And the Romans had their day. The Persians had their time. It's just part of life. It's part of the cycle. But the younger generation and a half, the last 30 years at least, don't want to. They think that humanity will evolve, okay, to something greater than.
Oh.
Okay? Well, we haven't done it since, in 200,000 years, since Neanderthal got killed off by somebody, and then Homo sapien took over. We haven't seen it. But, you know, we should have evolved. I've been watching, I'm getting ready for a speech I'm making this summer, and I've been watching a lot of the futuristic shit, and one of which is, I think, how the world's going to end.
How do you think
Okay?
the world's going to end?
They're already here.
I think
They're buried under the fucking ground, like in the movies you see.
Yeah.
And they're going to send a message, and we have contacted whoever out there. In this movie, they were 4,000 light years away. Okay, 4,000 light years away. So it's going to take them fucking ever to get here. But they're telling us they're coming, and the world kills each other off in anticipation, and they don't even arrive for 4,000 light years. And it's a Chinese super physicist gal, and she's the first one to get the message in 1951. And when they decode it, and she's at Berkeley, they decode it, and the person on 4,000 years away, don't push the button. As my wife, Putin, as my Yorkshire wife. So for an hour, you're watching her not thinking about pushing the button, and then she pushes the button anyway. Then they fast forward 60, 70 years, and we told you not to push the fucking button, and then they kill her. Okay? And there's still 396,000, and the world kills itself off. We're our own worst enemy. Absolutely.
You know who basically said the same thing, and he's now banned from 26 countries? David Icke.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know David Icke.
I know. Another friend of Brian Rose, my mentee.
I have him on. I've had him on 3 or 4 times.
I've never met Ike, but if we really lived in a dictatorship environment, guys like Ike, guys like which are considered the crazy, guys like the Ayatollah and all that, would get whacked.
Done, hung.
But see, we're not really as bad as the kids say we are. Because if I were the head top guy, I'd whack all these fuckers.
Right.
No due process. Fuck your due process. Bang.
Done.
Yeah. But we're not that bad. But we are that bad compared to what they're being taught in school now. You know, it's not under God anymore. It's not this. It's not that. Which bathroom do you go in? Yada, yada, yada. That'd be a tough thing. You know, I don't know, Mr. Musk. But that'd be a tough thing if, you know, our daughter, one daughter, 2 sons, wanted to be a guy. You know, you all say, I want the best for him. We all say we want him to be happy.
Right.
All that shit we say.
Yeah.
But there are limits. Like I gave a speech at University of California about 25 years ago. If you have more than one kid, you've got a favorite. They threw shit at me. They booed me. Anybody that's got more than one kid knows he's got a fucking favorite.
Of course you do.
Yeah. And now they're just coming around biologically, but they threw rolls at me, you know, at University of California. And so, but we're not going to wake up in time. We're just not. I say we're through.
I agree
I'm
with
sure
you.
I said this at the last time I was had the privilege of being here.
My privilege.
The guy in the wheelchair that died from Cambridge, Hawkins,
yeah. How about that?
Has said in 2006, we are at our apex.
Yep.
We're on a small planet with average intelligence, and he related to chimpanzees, and all we have is downside. No matter what we create electronically, no matter what we create scientifically, we're through. Okay. Now, I didn't come to that conclusion. I'm late. 8 years later, I said the same thing, okay? And I forget where I was speaking. I got booed. But we're through. We're fucking through. I mean,
I think we are too. Do you believe in the stone ape theory?
I'm not sure.
So the stone ape theory is basically that, you know, we were to make simple, we were monkeys, blah blah blah, and then there was a lot of
true.
Yeah, right. There was a lot of psychedelics around, and the psilocybin expanded the brain and the way it fires, and then it evolved into what we are now. That's the stone ape theory. But I think we're at the end. We're already at the machine part. You know, who knows where they're
And
at.
if anybody believed that the robots and et cetera are going to make for more jobs, is brain dead. It's fucking brain dead.
They're gonna duplicate themselves, figure out what everything is wrong. They're going to know what everyone does, have read every book and every book that there is, processed every way every machine works ever, get rid of everyone, and it's going to be just them. At some point, they'll be able to make their own universe. I mean, if you let AI go on and on and on, which blows my mind that QLA, that you 30 years ago, quantum, I think that's the word that's going to be the end of us.
5 years ago, the biggest computer, I forget what her name is, in the world, played chess with 3 grandmasters, the top dogs at the time.
Knocked the fucking
And
out.
the grandmasters beat the computer. And so the moderator, it wasn't Elon, but somebody like Elon, well, we beat you, what do you have to say? Don't trust us. The words that came out of the fucking computer's mouth, don't trust us.
And Mr. Pena, and that was not programmed in it.
No, it wasn't. And the kids today, I was at Caltech and MIT years ago, and they kind of shine it on like, but nobody programmed that. Now, how did the fucking computer figure out?
Machine learning language without anybody programming it. It's teaching itself even
Well,
with
I
that.
mean, Elon Musk says, be afraid.
Hell.
Bill Gates says, be afraid. What's his name? From Cambridge, the guy just alluded to, be afraid.
Bill Gates said, be afraid.
Be afraid.
Wow. If he said, be afraid, I'm real afraid. Because I thought he would be all in for it.
You know,
You know?
Well, he owns, whether it's true or not, 45% of all the patents, or patents as they say in Europe, patents for COVID and all this shit. And the next 10 generations of it. He owns all the patents.
Fucker. Where were you at, Dan?
Well, believe me, I've asked myself that question, but I didn't think it was going to take 24 years to create $1 trillion. And I certainly had plenty of times that I would have thought about giving up. But the world is fucked beyond any rational thought process. But see, the thing is, the kids, whatever, it's not rational, but the kids today are being taught on a different plane, a different level, a different playing field. They think that good will prevail. Mm-hmm. I don't. I know it won't prevail.
Right.
Okay? I'm not even getting on the religious end of it, but I mean, we're just fucked. But, during the Civil War, that shouldn't have happened, but did. By the way, I just found out, I'm listening to not a podcast, but a documentary on PBS, I think it is, about assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
I didn't even know they had one.
No. Well, do you know who paid for the assassination of Abraham Lincoln?
No.
The Bank of Montreal.
Can't
Paid $5,000.
Really?
The Bank of Montreal funded the South. The Bank of Montreal was owned by the French. The French were further south. Montreal, Canada, the French Canada. I mean,
Yeah, no, right.
John Wilkes paid John Wilkes Booth $5,000 to put a bullet in Abe's head.
Wow. Now, why wouldn't they do that documentary 20 years ago, 10 years ago?
Well, why are all the good documentaries only come out in the last 10 or 15 years about John Kennedy? About Robert Kennedy,
to
drowned
move your
the
attention.
girl, or allegedly drowned the girl.
To put your head this way.
Correct.
So you're not looking this way.
Correct.
What do you think about what they're doing to Kennedy now? I
met him once before. I actually met John Kennedy as a kid.
Did you?
Yeah, he's one of the presidents. But I was a teenager when I met him at the 1960 Democratic Convention at the Convention Center.
Mister, you are sharp as nails. I mean, your brain. I want your diet. Your 50 pills.
I attribute it to the 3 Vesper martinis I had last night, the half a bottle of red and a half a bottle of white, and the caviar.
What'd you eat for
nice
dinner?
Caviar restaurant here. But I told Sally, and we were with a young couple of my mentees that are doing very well, and I said, "Is this all the fucking caviar we get?" And because I know it was $1,100 or $14 something per person, and I made the give. And so I said, "What's the dish that you got the most fucking caviar?" And she says, "Well, the best bang for your buck, you mean, sir, is a baked potato, full, scraped out and full of caviar. I'll take that. I don't even like carbs, but I'll take it anyway." And and Sally and I, when we went back to our suite upstairs, she said, "Dad, remember, decades ago, back in the 90s, when we stayed at Holiday Inn for $48 a night? Yeah, I remember. That's why I ordered the fucking cab.
Because you remembered, right?
I can remember.
Now, do you work out a lot? Are you still working
No,
out
I
a
still
lot?
work out. I still work out. But I use, where I used to lift 400 pounds.
Fuck.
I
remember when you were doing that. You fucked up
They
your back.
forgot to put the collars on. I bench pressed 395. And so, but now I use 200 pounds. So I use about half as much weight. So now I don't even lift weights that I used to warm up with. And, but I've got my own gym, so nobody can laugh at me. I'm just here by myself, so.
When you go through, he did 4 or 5. It was even you went higher than that, and you fucked up your back real good. I was
right.
watching all your stuff when you did that. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. But I mean, when I go to a gym and I see other people, and I don't like to compare myself to other people my age, I mean, I wouldn't get out of bed if I looked like that, or I walked like that, or I had a hunch in my fucking back, and I just wouldn't. I mean, there are ways that you can do away with yourself that are legal in Switzerland. I'd be over there.
What's the biggest difference from the U.S. here and Switzerland, UK, which took you 20 years to get a passport? I saw your thing. What the hell?
Yeah.
Why did it take you 20 years to get a passport?
Well, half of the mistakes were mine, and half the mistakes, I think, even though I have no proof that the UK government may or may not have wanted me to get a passport.
We'll go with the latter.
Yeah, but I mean, but when I went to Europe in '81, and then I moved there in '84, I only took the same aggression that I learned at the mostly Jewish investment banking firm of Bear Stearns to the UK, and I ate them for breakfast. I mean, it just,
Ate 'em.
I allegedly choked people, dragged people across conference tables. I will neither confirm nor deny whether that's true. But I was a really aggressive fuck. I really was. But there were a lot of guys smarter than I was and more aggressive than I was that were on Wall Street. I mean, and I came up in an era that, I mean, there were no limits on how much you could make. And now when some of the kids that are running the big firm, Jamie Dimon, who's, I don't know, person is smart shit, he deserves $300 million, okay? But that 300 million 40, 50 years ago was only 18 million or 24 million,
Right.
No less smart guys. But now, I mean, the brain drain, people are concerned at the big firms, if they don't get paid these astronomical numbers, they'll leave. Well, maybe they'll leave, but maybe they'll invent a new industry, an industry that, provides all the things that are made today don't provide added value. When a new product comes out, it's providing added value to the inventor,
Correct.
to the initiator, okay? But, I mean, the kids, the firms where our kids work, they shouldn't get paid, the money they do.
No, it's wild. And then to go right back to that, I look at China, right? China has never been fractured. Like Russia's been fractured with the Soviet Union, Europe, whatever. How does China go, 4,000 years with the same culture identity? I mean, yeah, I understand they're hanging people left and right, but is it just
Because
fear?
they know,
Fear.
They know that strict disciplinary dictatorship works.
Fear.
Fear, it's a hell of a way to run a railroad, but you don't have the things. Of course, they've got 25 million units of apartments that are empty, 25 million. Nobody's writing about it in the newspaper.
Now, why is that? Why do they have
Because
25
they
million
know if you do,
empty?
you get hung. Now, another interesting
Shit.
interesting fact. Last week, it was published in the Wall Street Journal, the largest commercial real estate building in St. Louis. I don't know, 65 stories, something like that, sold for $2.3 million. In 2006, that same building sold for $265 million. Second fact, picture the Empire State Building, okay? The square footage in the Empire State Building times 25 are empty in Manhattan. Empty. Okay. Fact number 3, 14 of the last 15 quarters, Manhattan real estate has gone down in value. Okay. Number 5, Beverly Hills. Okay. 12 of the last 13 quarters, real estate has gone down in value. And I can go on and on and on, 50 of those, just like that. But it's not in the newspapers. Why? Because it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you look at my site, I've got four doors. Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. Okay, and I picked them, and I said door number 4 about 2 and 3 years ago. And so then I unveiled it late last year, commercial real estate. It's already in the toilet. First comes commercial real estate, then comes your individual real estate, and then your little chicken shit apartment you live in.
That comes last, right?
It's over.
Over.
Finito. Go fuck yourself.
And then is that so government control?
No, it's because ineptness in managing interest rates. Powell, who's the head of the Fed, who I've never met, but if you go back and you do some research in his yearbook, he went to a Jesuit trained school. He's trained to be a priest, Jesuit priest. If you go back to his yearbook and he signed yearbook, I can't wait to be the head of the Federal Reserve and print more money than God. He said that when he was 17 fucking years old.
Jeez.
And he's, and he's doing it. But to their credit, if you want to call it that, they don't really know how to deal with what we're going through because we've never done it before. We've never done it before. And when whenever I want to, I've been invited to 7, 8 panels about climate change, global warming, the last of which was in D.C. 2 or 3 years ago. But as soon as we get down to 4 or 5 weeks before the actual panel, and the other panel members see who I am, they all cancel. So then it's easier for the school to cancel me and keep the other, because I got proof up the ass that just as when I was, I say there's been 11 expeditions to the North and South Pole, both, 11. 10 are all dead. Sally and I are still alive.
Yeah.
Well, these talking heads never been there. I've been there. I talked to the scientists. And as they were going through cores, by the time this is 10 years old, they had drilled 6,000 or 7,000 cores in the South Pole. Most people don't realize the South Pole's on a mountaintop, but anyway. And they were going through the cores, these crazy scientists. It looked like Ghostbusters.
And what were they looking for in the cores?
They can tell how, it's like when you look at the core of a tree, you know how long the tree's been there?
Right.
The rings?
Okay.
Similar. And so the doctor's sitting there in boxer shorts, a Hawaiian t-shirt, and flip-flops, and it's 30 below zero. And he says, and here, 55,000 years ago, it was 1.8 degrees Celsius warmer. And I said, wait, let's go back. And how do you know that? And he gives you all the reasons, and he draws
Facts.
it on. And facts. And he says, it's irrefutable. And then I say, and I didn't film it. Then I said, well, what about global? I couldn't even get the warming out of my mouth. Everybody starts laughing. Yeah. That's a joke.
That drove you nuts, huh?
Yeah.
And it drove me nuts, too.
And then when I went to the North Pole, a few years later, and that's a Russian deal, and we had an interpreter because the Russians wouldn't give you ice in winter, but same thing. And everybody is really drinking vodka from the morning. That's no bullshit. That's for real. And so I asked a similar question. And Sally and I renewed our vows again. We did it at the South Pole. We renewed our vows at the North Pole.
Congratulations. That's so cool.
And so our interpreter says, the Russians don't understand how stupid everybody else is. The whole, it's like these volcanoes that are going off now and stuff like that. We've known about this shit for hundreds of years. But now, and I feel sorry for the people that lost property. But why didn't any of the rich people in Hawaii, remember a couple years ago? Oprah, why didn't one of those motherfucking houses burn down?
Yeah,
not one.
Because they wanted that oceanfront property. That's what the fuck they wanted.
Because whether the fire department took care of them, I don't know. But not one of their fucking houses burned down.
No.
And
Oprah,
then,
The Rock.
I don't know if it was Oprah or...
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. That's who you're thinking of, yeah.
They painted their house with some green shit or blue shit or something, and the fire just ran away. But your house or my house...
Fucked.
No, I could have afforded that shit, but anyway, unless it's billions or something.
Yeah.
But the average Rufus, doofus, moron, nice guy, 2.3 kids, 1.2 dogs, it goes to the kids' Little League game, they don't have a fucking chance.
No. But why isn't that out at all? Like the Russian guy said, why is that?
Because it's not popular.
Not
no
popular.
news gets out in Russia, so
No news gets out in Russia.
But it's not the popular scenario.
Mr. Pena, what the fuck is in Antarctica? In Antarctica,
Well,
that
they
we
say,
can't go
I
to?
don't know, because
what do
we-
you think is there? What does Dan
Well,
predict?
they say that the guy, one of the first guys to fly, I forget his name, he was an admiral in the Navy.
I know
They
you're
say
talking
that they encountered aliens and
Yeah.
there's aliens.
Beard. Admiral Beard.
Yeah,
Beard.
yeah.
Bird. Yeah.
I don't know, because the tour, although Sally and I want to go back to
Beard.
the South Pole again next year to coincide with my 80th birthday. But I mean, it's a pretty neat place. It just, and you suffer from oxygen deprivation because it is at 12 or 13,000 feet, and you don't really know that because it's at the ass end of the world. But if you go back 1906, 1908, something like that, there were sea battles between our Navy and aliens and shit. But if you go back to 1947, there was an alien battle over Hollywood Hills and Beverly Hills. You go back to LA Times, I think it was October, November 1947. They got pictures. This is before you cut and paste and make shit happen that didn't really happen. During the eclipse, an alien spaceship flew across the eclipse. And some of the newscasters just discounted it. Well, it looked like a saucer. It looked like this. It was traveling about 9 billion miles. Well, what was it? And then nobody talked about it. What was that thing that flew across? Was it an air balloon like 1947 in Arizona, supposedly? But the public is, they want to be naive.
What do you think this shit that we're seeing? Do you think it's alien shit, or do you think it's our military?
I think it's both.
Do you really? You think it's a combination?
I think it's both, the public is, because of Freedom of Information Act, and I would recommend you kids that feel elite, go back and read the things that are being released from the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
And in certain cases, 50 years, in certain cases, 75 years. And you will have a revelation beyond your wildest expectation about what really happened and what really didn't happen. The one that's coming up in a few years is how Marilyn Monroe really died.
Give me that one.
Well, I mean, she was whacked.
Well, we know that.
Yeah, but she was whacked because allegedly she fucked John Kennedy. Not allegedly. She built
fucked
tunnels under the fucking White House.
Yeah,
to
fuck her.
And maybe even fucked Robert Kennedy, amongst others. And I mean, there's all kinds of shit.
Wasn't she was set to go on a talk show, like a primetime show coming
Johnny
up?
Carson.
Johnny, was that who it was? Carson?
Uh-huh.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And they were concerned that she was going to open her mouth about certain things.
Oh, she would have opened her mouth. No question about that. And by the way, I just found out in the last couple of years, the grammar school that I've funded here recently, not here, but in Los Angeles, Doris Place Grammar School.
Good for you.
But she went to my grammar school.
Oh, shit.
19 years before me.
Yeah.
And when I found that out, I said, well, I'm doubling the money I'm giving you. And so they built a music hall or whatever in my name. But
Good for you.
when she lived there, it was white trash, poor white trash.
Yeah.
Okay? When I lived there, it was Mexican trash. And then the Vietnamese and everybody else moved in. But, the truth is stranger than fiction. There's a great scene in A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson is up on the stage as a Marine officer, and he says, "You can't stand the truth. You can't handle the truth." And he's screaming and yelling. And most people can't handle the truth. It's like you're Santa Claus. You don't want to tell your kids who Santa Claus is.
Right.
Well, that's
Me.
It's no fucking different.
Right.
They can't handle the truth.
Right.
And
And you start that when they're young, and then it leaves, and that's why, like in the Snowflake Test, if you could pull that up at some point, you say, like, I'm just broadly saying, if your mom is about to die or you got a business deal, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Your ass better be at the business deal. If you want to take it to the next level.
somebody comes and spits in your mom's face, what are you going to do? And then there's 3 or 4 answers. But the most, right now, 98.7% of the kids that take the test fail. When I put the test out 25 years ago, 94.7. And I said, well, it can't get any worse. 25 years later, it's now 97.4. But the most answered, or most used answer is, well, I try to see what kind of day the guy was having. Now, what the fuck's that got to do with anything? And it's this, we have kids that come to the seminar that have never been yelled at. We have kids that come to the seminar that have never been disciplined by their parents. We have kids, part of that group, have never been physically disciplined, like smack at you or whatever. Okay, we have kids that come to the seminar, literally, that have never, they wouldn't say shit if it was in their mouth. And you wonder why the fuck we are where we are. I tell kids, you're all kids to me, but I tell the guys at the seminar, where I come from, in East LA, you wouldn't have got past 10, 12 years old. They would have found you buried in the fucking river.
Well, I've told you many times about my grandfather. These kids now, he would have killed. I mean, it would have been a done deal. Yeah. But how? Let's say your father, who you always speak of, who made you into the man you are today, which is why you are. Yeah, and military. And I'm sitting here across from you. The only reason a guy I thought I hated, my grandfather, because he beat that into me. So, if your father had Dan Pena today, how would he handle you with all these rules and laws?
Okay, he got softer on my kid brother, who's 17 years my junior, and he got really soft on my baby brother, who's 21 years my junior.
Oh, really?
Okay, the 17-years my junior is retiring as deputy fire chief of the LA County Fire Department, the number 2 guy, but he was easier on Vince, as Vince would say if he were here, and his discipline was non-existent on my baby brother. He ran ragged, whatever. But if my dad were here, when you're in your late 60s and you're trying to raise a teenager, you run out of gas.
Yeah.
And he ran out of gas. Yeah. But he had plenty of gas when he was raising me.
Yeah. He was wound up for you. Is it possible to raise a Dan Pena in today's age?
Well, I overdid. My kids, I was a strict disciplinarian, especially vis-a-vis our neighbors. I gave my daughter a new car when she turned 16. The guy across the street gave his daughter a Learjet.
Holy shit.
Rolling Hills, California, was the highest per capita income of any incorporated city in the United States. It had 685 people. Virtually, not everybody, but almost everybody that lived in that conclave was the CEO of some big company or a founder of something, invented something, and they're all rich. And but just down the hill from us in Torrance were working stiffs, blue collar guys. But I mean, it's virtually not impossible. If you take the internet away, he could do it. But right now, kids are looking at shit on the internet they shouldn't. Yep. They shouldn't. And there's a whole argument of why we allow it as a government. We know that 40%, depending on what study you want to believe, between 40 and 60% of depression in America is due to social media.
Yeah.
But people want their freedom. Now, I say this, I sound like a slave owner from the 1840s or 50s. Everybody thinks they have fucking rights.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that.
I don't believe it either.
It sounds good when you're reading it, okay? Just like the Bible sounds good. But the Bible also says an eye for an eye, okay? But we're past the precipice. And that's why Hawkins in 2004 and me in 2014, we're just past it. There's no going back. But in all those times of desperation through life, the Roman time and the Persian time, etc., there was somebody that got rich. Why not us?
Yep. Why not us?
Yeah, and but I'm accused occasionally. Don't you feel guilty for taking advantage of the idiots? Nope, not in the least.
Because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. That's what I used to always say. I don't know if that's the great line to say.
It's true, but it's not just that. It's whoever said the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, as shitty as that sounds, is true.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
When I talked to Jordan Belfort, he was making fun of Jim Cramer with the stocks. So I wanted to bring this up with you, that you can't beat the S&P. So if you play the only way to buy into stocks, he was saying, was go buy the S&P and play the long game. Do you agree with that?
Well, I tell people rather than invest, put it another way. Okay, when the Dow was at 25,000 a few years ago, if you put $1 million in the Dow 25, and let's just say everything was equal, and the Dow goes to 50,000, okay, you got 20 million, 10 doubled, okay.
Okay.
So what? When you figure that's about 7 or 8% a year. That's what it comes out to, which is nothing.
Right.
Okay, and that's why Charlie the Munger, God rest his soul, and Warren Buffett are revered because they almost doubled that. Their average for all these years is 13%. But their fund says if in 1963-64 you put up 10 grand, it is now worth $343 million if you reinvested all the capital gains, which nobody does, and if you reinvest all the dividends, which nobody does. Now you can buy funds like Fidelity, Premier Fund, that invest all the capital gains and invest all the dividends. But if you put in money in the QLA model based on all our stats in 1963, although we didn't get started until 1993, you have, instead of $347 million, you got $92 billion.
Whoa.
It's the only chart I've ever put up on social media that hasn't been refuted with, mathematicians and formulas, because it's irrefutable. I mean, it's because our average guy that invests, that starts, is a short millionaire doing his first deal. By the time he's done 10 deals, he's got 7 or 8 million. By the time he's done 100 deals, he's got 100 million. And we've got guys that can stand up in the court of law and get in front. Your Honor, actually, Mr. Pena's a little off. We actually made $62 more million than that. He hasn't been keeping track of us.
I always see your Facebook. Every time I go on, boom, another gazillion, 18 million, 22 million.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
always
one of my favorites is the 14-year-old who did $53 million while he was 14 years old.
14. Please tell that story.
Okay. Well, he's a Greek kid. His name's Alex, and he's just getting out of high school now. And
Just getting out of high school.
Yeah. And he says,
This is what Dan will do to
I'm
you.
not 14 anymore, Mr. Pena. I'm 18 now. But anyway, he did a television media deal in Georgia. He bought up some small TV stations, is what he did. And smart as a fucking whip. And he just followed the model. And we've got teenagers that have made more money than that, but not at 14. Most of the kids, 12, 13, 14, burn out by the time they've made $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. But he didn't. He stuck with the program. And I said, it's not time to exit. It's not time to exit. And then when they finally did exit, completed the deal, it was $53.5 million. But now he's asshole buddies with the governor, and he's he is super bright. But we've got guys that are super bright that didn't make shit. So I mean, it's not that. But he's one of the most well-disciplined kids that I've come across in my 50-year career, 30 years coaching, and he's unrelentless. I mean, he just keeps on, and he fences. Which isn't.
That's a hard game.
Yeah,
that's hard.
It's not a sport that I can relate to much. But his dad is an MBA doctor, and his mom's a housewife, and his brother's a priest.
It's an interesting combo there.
Yeah.
That's a nice cocktail.
Yeah. But he works his butt off. But I mean, most kids are just. Now, one of the big talks I used to give during Corona. You've got home study your parents, both of which brain dead. Especially your mother is a minus intellect, minus IQ, and plus she's a bad fuck probably for your old man. How is that helping you? You've got an illiterate mother, it's not exaggeration, trying to teach calculus to her junior and high school kid.
Yeah, that's going to work out.
Yep.
Or you got the mother that holds the say daughter all the time, and I know what that means. That means when that kid is 21 and she goes out, she can't be alone. So now she's going to get homeschooled and be held by mom all the time while dad works, so that when the daughter is 18, 19 and can't be alone and fucks half the world, dad gets in a lot of trouble.
Those are the kind of girls I look for.
That's the kind of girls I look for. Used to look for.
Yeah, yeah.
Used to look for.
Well, yeah, it was a long time ago. But I mean, back in the late 50s and early 60s, I mean, shortly thereafter, with women's lib, and they're taking their bras off, and they want to have sexual experiences as soon as they can, I was at the right place at the right time. And of course now, one of my good friends who's retired lawyer, last time I had dinner with his family, his 96-year-old mother and his 27-year-old daughter, and we were talking about things we used to do, and so her name is Samantha. Mr. Penny, do you mean my dad was a slut? I still remember the 97-year-old sitting like there, and I go, and then his wife was sitting where you are. It was a different time. I'm trying to dig myself out of that hole, and then his wife.
Is Miss Penny there?
Yeah,
Mrs.
yeah,
Penny?
yeah. His wife turns to her daughter and says, "Yes, your father was a slut, and that's when I met him."
That's great. Let me ask you about debt. Is there an actual debt? And the reason I asked this, I had a guy, Samuel Arms, who he writes a lot of bills for DeSantis. DeSantis won't like that, but pretty much writes half the bills. Young kid, real bright. And the big question was, is there an actual debt? Right, you know.
Well, the country supposedly has $33 trillion in
supposedly, but we can print more anytime we want. The banks don't have the money in the bank, right? They're reinvesting. They're just loaning it.
We went off the gold standard, and I think
the gold standards. That's what I was trying to say. Since we went off the gold standard, is there really a debt? Like when you go way outside picture, is there really a debt? I know it sounds fucked up, but you know what I mean,
debt
right?
on a balance sheet for a company.
Right.
So debits
you know what I'm
credits,
saying, right?
Debits and credits do not equal in
Right.
the federal government. Okay. First of all, I'm not sure we have credits, but
That's what I meant.
we certainly have plenty of debt. And some people say the worst thing that Nixon ever did was take us off the gold standard. I don't know if that's the worst thing he ever did, but we certainly don't have that. But then again, nobody else has it as well. I mean. The Japanese just came out of a recession the last 24, 27 years, I forget how long. And they tried to manage their country, 2 and 2 make 4. In other words, legitimate credits
Right.
equal debits. And they stayed in recession 25 years.
Shit.
Okay? I'm not positive, but I'm almost positive that, the definition of a recession is 1 quarter at less than something or other. I'm pretty sure we fucked for those numbers.
Oh,
Pretty
hell
sure.
yeah.
I wouldn't stake my life on it, but Mrs. Yellen, who is now Secretary of Treasury, I think, or she's the head of, no, it's Treasury. They're doing the best they can, but there's certain things they can't do. And one of the things, even though we're trying to trend towards being upfront, transparent, which is a good word that they use now, we can't. Because if the world really knew, supposedly Eisenhower, and remember, my first chairman when I started my business career was the former Secretary of Defense under Eisenhower,
That's
a guy
right.
named Bob Anderson. He had 18% of the company, I had 82%. My first office was 1 rock. I had the penthouse of Rockefeller Plaza, because Mr. Anderson had do a lot of work for Rockefeller back in the day. He said, you don't have to pay me, I just want office space for life. And I went to penthouse in 1 rock. Well, they couldn't give the office space away when he got that. So my first office was 1 rock. And the stuff that, of course, he's hanging around with all these guys, and he's saying, at that time frame before that, when he was with the Eisenhower administration, Eisenhower supposedly had a meeting in the Keys, I think, with some alien shit, and we know you can't manage yourself, but if you prohibit certain things with an A-bomb, we'll let you live. Now, he had no reason to lie to me. I'm 29 years old. He's 70-something. I didn't know he had cancer at the time, soon to die. And we're sitting in 1 rock, the penthouse, looking out, at the ants down there. We don't know anything. But I agree. I wouldn't tell the public, fuck. I wouldn't tell them anything.
Nothing.
Nothing, okay? I treat them like mushrooms. Keep them in the dark and shovel shit on them.
You have to.
Yeah, and the stuff that's coming out, because my dad was in the CIA, which isn't popular, that he allegedly whacked people. But he didn't allegedly, he did. And the paper says allegedly.
Yeah.
But these guys, I've been around guys that, I was privileged to go to the Pentagon, not last year, the year before last. I went to the new space agency.
Now, what's that like?
I couldn't find one person.
You couldn't find one person?
No, first of all, security
That's
was
nice.
shit.
Really?
Talk about security here.
Worse than here?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's not not good for a person who
And
lives
so
in America.
we had a captain escorting us around. And
That's good to know as
Sally,
they fly.
Sally says, "Where are all the people?" And it's 4:15 in the afternoon. They must still be on lunch break.
Oh.
I mean,
What the fuck, right? So would you say that we're in a recession yet? Are we in a depression and they're just fucking with the numbers?
no, we're in a mental depression, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mentally, we're fucked.
Oh, for sure, done. Just when I saw that interest rate go so high, that's when.
But I mean, we suffered from, in the 70s, when interest rates were 15, 16, 17%, people made money.
I just remember the CDs. Remember the CDs your parents had?
My mother had CDs. She got like 10-year CDs, and they were 16, 18%. And then when they went to renew them, they renewed them at the current rate, which was at 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And my mother called me, tracked me down, and says, "I think the bank's trying to steal from me." I said, "Why?" And I said, "You've got 30 days to renew this stuff, Mom. I'll come." And it was Home Savings and Loans. She had her CDs, and she had, how she ever accumulated $260,000. I still don't know, because she never, notwithstanding she never spent any money, but I never thought she could make that much money, And I went down to the bank, told me, "Your mother's irate," and blah, blah, blah. I explained it to her. And so I said, "We'll swap my CDs for hers." And then she was happy. Mine weren't as high as hers.
Yeah.
But she was happy then,
I just remember my parents always talking, invest in CDs. I'm getting 25 something on the cent. And then when I got older, it was like nothing. It was like, yeah, right. Like, not the way to go anymore. Tell us about the QLA coming up. Do you have to change anything because of?
Well, we've changed since we had a Corona version during Corona.
Yeah.
And then post-Corona, right now there has been for the last 50 years, there's more or less 40 business tools that are available through banks, investment banks, et cetera. That we only use one. It's commercial debt. And commercial debt is our fallback.
Could you explain commercial debt?
Commercial debt is, you go to the bank, you want to borrow $10,000, okay? And they can say, "What are you going to put for collateral?" Now, in the old days, when you went to borrow $1,000, you put your car up.
Right.
If you didn't have a loan against it, okay?
Paid off car.
Yeah, paid off. And all the kids that I see, their cars are not paid off. So in fact, I had a kid just recently. He's 27 years old. He's done about $80 or $90 million in deals in construction. He's in Toronto, and he went out and he bought not a Rolls 4x4, but a kind of an expensive one. Cost $800,000 or $900,000 or something like that. And he paid for it with the company money. And he writes me in his report, he says, "Well, when you were 25, you had a Rolls Royce." "Yeah." I said, "But one, I was the only shareholder. Two, I had no partner. I didn't have a board to ask, and so I had a Rolls." "You have a board. This was not approved by the board. It's outside your spending limit. I can give you a lot more reasons why you're giving the car back, or you're paying for it with your own fucking money." So he paid for it with his own fucking money. So you go to the bank and you want to borrow $10,000. Now they want collateral, okay? Let's say you own an apartment building, you own something, or maybe your house. You put a second mortgage on your house, okay? And that's the collateral they have, which is normally 2 or 3 times what you borrowed, okay? So that's commercial debt. That's commercial debt. And that's been around since, Cain and Abel, forever. That's what we use, and we don't use any of the other fancy things. And Andrew Carnegie, back in the 1840s, 50s, 60s, 70s, he used commercial debt because he didn't like giving away parts of his business vis-a-vis taking in equity partners, taking in investors into his deals because his equity would be reduced from 100% down. Okay, and I discovered that in about
2 minutes.
1970, more or less. I was at Bear Stearns at the time, and why don't we do this? He says, because there's no fees in it, Dan. You're never going to see anybody. And all these decades later, nobody ever tries to convince you that you're going to use commercial debt because there's no fucking vig in it. There's no money. Okay?
No points on it.
So when I discovered that and I started doing deals with only commercial debt, of course, it was very unpopular. And to this day, if you go to J.P. Morgan, you go to Morgan Stanley, you go to Goldman Sachs, and if the deal is primarily a commercial debt deal, they don't want to do it.
Wow.
Because there's no fee.
Because there's no fee.
And so they shove you out the door in a nice way. Okay? Some of the places, not so nice way. You go for hard money guys in New York, they shove you out the door in not such a nice way. What are you wasting my fucking time? You moron, you get out of here. And so the QLA model is based on commercial debt. And almost everybody, not everybody, but almost every single deal that I've looked at in the tens of thousands since I left Wall Street aren't a deal. If the debt service that you have to pay on the debt, okay, you borrow $1 million and you're paying 10% interest, let's say, and so that means you're paying 10% of $1 million, $100,000 a year in interest. You divide it by 12 months, it's roughly $8,000 a month.
Right.
If your deal that's supposed to generate the motherfucking money isn't giving you at least $8,000 a month, it's not a deal.
Not a deal.
So because you're a schmuck, you put in your own money to reduce the debt payment. Okay? The rich people don't do it that way.
Right. You just fucked yourself is what you did.
Yeah,
Trying to build,
okay,
correct?
yeah, exactly. This isn't even math 101. This is kindergarten 101. I mean,
I'll be there. You can ask Miss K.
yeah,
I'll be there.
okay. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And so you either use other people. The two biggest levers in life are other people and other people's money. Okay, I haven't put money in a deal. I won't say 50 years, maybe 40 years. Donald Trump hasn't put money in a deal for just as long.
But
And they make fun of Donald Trump when he ran and won. He had 23 bankruptcies in his career, okay, of which he all got out of, okay, because there's two kinds of bankruptcies. There's liquidation and reorganization,
Right.
okay, and he reorged these, didn't lose any of his own money. But I've used bankruptcy one time in my 50-year career, and it was a reorg. I went in and was out within a year. But when you tell that to the moochers to watch TV, because they're so thick, the people that are listening to this have feces for brains.
yeah.
Okay? Maybe the only smart
I
thing they
agree.
do is listen to you.
Yeah.
Okay?
I agree.
Okay?
I agree. And you.
Yeah, and they complain that Trump was in bankruptcy 23 times. That's because he's 23 times smarter than you fucking idiots.
Exactly. I agree 100%. If you were going to go for capital now, today in this age, you're not Dan who you are
I'm
now.
just a dumb mooch.
Now you're trying to come up. How would you get capital? Like
Well,
you don't have a name.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy.
It's easier to buy. Let's back up a second.
Sure.
It's easier to buy revenue than create it. You've been in a lot of business in your life.
Yeah.
Starting from scratch is hard.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what the idea is or how smart you are. And now you got to build traffic. You got to have eyeballs on blah, 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 okay? No, I would buy a business that already generated revenue because a bank automatically de-risks your investment opportunity because let's say it's doing $2 million a year. The bank doesn't care how many years it took the deal to create $2 million a year. All it knows is you've got 3 years tax returns that says $2 million fucking dollars a year. So they automatically give you the benefit of the doubt, in my judgment, wrongfully, the benefit of the doubt, and they will lend you based on that cash flow. But there's two kinds of lending. There's asset lending. This building is worth such and such. Okay. Now that story I told you earlier, the tallest building in St. Louis sold for $2.3 million, 60, 70 stories. 18 years ago, it sold for $208 million or $220 million. Okay.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. They base that on cash flow. It's only got 3 tenants out of 500 tenants. So they base the purchase price on the current tenants and the current cash flow. The current cash flow. And I'm sure that building was owned by an insurance company. I bet my left nut on it. And in the scheme of things, it is going the way. And the reason they don't foreclose on Elon Musk $1.7 billion a month is because it would cause, the domino effect.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 75% of commercial real estate is underwater or 25. But even if it's 25, we're in fucking trouble.
Big trouble.
Why don't they tell you that Manhattan real estate value has gone down? Part of the reason why real estate has gone down, not just because interest rate has gone up, because Middle Eastern money has dried up.
Dried up?
Because the Arabs, et cetera, are not buying shit, $300 million penthouses, et cetera, et cetera. They're not buying commercial buildings that are empty. And it's across the country.
You know how many people you just helped answering that question? You probably just helped a lot of people. But they got to take action. Yeah, they got to take action. You can't just listen to it. You got to act. And that's one of your things.
When I first started giving seminars 30 years ago, I gave a seminar at the LA. I used to do this for free, by the way. I filled up LA airport, the convention thing at LA airport, LAX, and I had 700 or 800 seats. I gave them. I even fed them. I remember Sally saying, "Oh, we need to give him a hot lunch." Anyway, we gave him a cold lunch. But anyway, 700, 800 feet, and somebody in the front row said, Mr. Pena, there's somebody running around that has written 700 books on deals. And then somebody else in the front row, not a plant, said, who would you rather have, somebody that read 700 books or did 700 deals? I raised my hand. Now it's in the thousands of deals. But people, unfortunately, think that reading a book is taking action. You read a book on sex, the Kama Sutra, I think is the Indian book. You can read that motherfucker 1,000 times. It doesn't compare to the worst piece of ass I ever had.
Right.
Okay, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about the worst piece of ass I've had.
God rest his soul, he's dead now. He was an All-American football player.
That's quite a way to look at it.
University of Wisconsin. He said, when I think back about it, Mr. Pena, the worst piece of ass I ever had was pretty fucking good.
What, is he married with kids?
Yeah. Well, he's dead now.
Oh, he's dead.
He's dead now. But he had a bunch of kids, and
that explains part of it.
He was a devout Catholic. Nothing wrong about devout Catholic. But the worst one I had was pretty fucking good.
And are you still on, day one? This is what I loved because I took action. Remember I told you the Lamborghini? I went in there and drove this guy, Walter, in New York, nuts. I come in every 2 weeks in New York, from Philly to New York, Manhattan Motor Cars. Because you had said that you would go into the Rolls-Royce dealership. You didn't have the money to buy it. You would just smell it. And it kept you going. It just kept you motivated.
Correct.
And I had gotten it. So is that still how you're doing QA?
Oh, yeah.
Beat your ass down to nothing and then build your back up.
Well, you don't have to. People that have some money.
You can't say that nowadays.
Have some leverage. But when I was a graduate student, come back from Vietnam War, my girlfriend and I at the time used to go to LAX airport and sit in the lounge and watch people get off the Pan Am flights from Paris and London. And in those days, they were wearing suits and, dressed up back in the early 70s. And then we'd go out and we'd look at houses in the valley. And a $2 million house in the valley in 1971 was about 25,000 square feet on 20 acres with 2 tennis courts, a basketball court and a handball court. And the den, or the entertainment area, was 3,000 square feet. That was a $2 million house then, back in those days. And we'd go out there, and they always used to say, well, when are your parents going to get here? You know, because we looked young. We were young. I used to go to the Rolls dealer. And my first Rolls I bought, I was 25 years old. It was a Silver Cloud. I paid $35,000 for it.
Jeez.
$3,000 down payment. In 1971, as a graduate student, I didn't have $3,000. And so I went around, begged, borrowed, and I got a vet loan because I was a veteran at 9 different banks, and put the down payment. And the monthly payments were $375. Well, $375, I didn't have a month. Okay, I'm a graduate student,
Right.
and I had a job, and not in a McDonald's, but in a McDonald's-like kind of place.
And everybody thinks that this capsule just fell off a tree.
Fuck, no.
You were living with cockroaches. Remember? I always bring that up with you because people look at you and they think that you walked into this. That
I
you
wish.
didn't-
I wish that I met Sally and Sally. I have a couple of kids that married billionaires. And I have one kid that married into the Hewlett-Packard family.
Oh, yeah.
Hewlett, Ambassador Packard, Packard. And I was in the wedding. I wish it had been that way. You know? Last night we were talking about things, and I'm not bragging or anything, but Sally had her 25-carat diamond ring on. And so the wife of my kid is,
She blinded.
yeah. I said, and so her husband said, well, why don't you kiss it? The ring.
Yeah.
And so, but it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
And so we've seen the
Cockroaches, the hard times. Yeah.
I still remember being hungry, and your stomach feels like as a cement mixer, but it's whooshing around, but there's no food in it. So I remember those things, and I kind of chuckle at it now. But people that are going through that don't think it's so fucking funny.
You used to say, I don't know if you remember, but you used to say that your lunch break was a water sandwich.
Yep.
That's what you used to say.
Yeah.
And how many hours a week were you working?
Then 100, 120.
A week.
120, yep. And I used to eat, I had an apartment on 27th and Lexington in New York. We used to call the building the Bed Bug because they had cockroaches, The top 3 floors were a brothel.
A brothel?
A brothel. And so once in a while we'd get lucky. We'd come home from whoring around, and a couple of the girls would take us upstairs.
Did you get thirds?
Oh,
Fists?
I don't know how many, tens maybe. Yeah, I remember all that. And so around the corner, I could get a steak sandwich with a liter of beer. I don't know if they still sell liters of beer. And French fries for $6.45.
Wow.
$6.45. And our rent, there was 6 of us that shared an apartment. The rent was not $1,000. And it just, we were starving. And then you get a deal, okay? And I was always, my sales manager said, how many buildings in Manhattan that are over 10 stories, Pena? Fucking thousands. You're going to call every motherfucker from the ground floor to the top floor. And you'll be a millionaire at the end of it.
And you did.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, but I know not to ask the question, well, how long that's going to fucking take? And, 2.5 years later, I had a limo, 2 limos, a driver, a personal chef, and I'd cold call only about 2/3 of the building.
Still a shit ton.
Yeah. And so he says to me, and this guy just passed away a couple years ago. He says to me, "You're slowing down, Pena." I was, and so I said, "So now," and then he gave me another list. He gave me the white.
Give me another list.
He gave me the white pages. Every motherfucker in Manhattan. And by the, I was a big producer back in those days, and so. But so I've been.
And how'd you stay motivated to do it? Like, that's a lot of work to do when you're coming home to shit. How did you stay motivated?
I stayed motivated because I was fortunate to be around like the founders of Bear Stearns, Cy Lewis, and Ace Greenberg were nice to me, even though I wasn't Jewish. They said they weren't a Jewish firm, but they were. And 2 or 3 of the big hitters befriended me. And I saw how they worked. And then I saw how to work not hard, but hard and smart. When they learned how to work smart, they stopped working hard. And so I didn't. All I did is I added to working hard to working smart. And so then I realized after a few years I was a good public speaker, and I could make more money out of talking to 50 people than I could in one. And that really changed my life.
That changed everything.
Yeah, and I could spin, a tale like nobody's business. And the first transaction we ever did was a thing called Cartridge TV, who went bankrupt, by the way. Cartridge TV, and we underwrote it.
What the hell was cartridge TV?
Cartridge
What
TV
is it?
was like before they had, the things, the things you put in.
VHS,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
VHS
yeah,
tape.
yeah,
It was,
yeah.
That's what it was called before VHS.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit!
Okay.
Wow.
But Cartridge went bankrupt, mostly because the promoters all stole the money.
Oh,
And the mechanics or the patent or whatever was stolen from somebody else, and the whole line of shit.
a bunch of fuckers.
Yeah, yeah. And so the first deal I did, I put a whole bunch, not my money, a whole bunch of clients' money, and it all went under. And then I went around, and this is what they didn't do in those days. My hand in my hat and said, I fucked up, somehow. I didn't say I'll make it up to you, but I did. And so I had dinner a couple years ago, Sally and I, with one of those investors that helped save my job, actually. And he doesn't even remember the fact because he was already rich, and I was just one of the kids that he liked. But I realized that what people were looking for was leadership. What people were looking for was tough love, not the soft shit that we got now. And what really I found out is no love was better than tough love, and tough love was better than love. Nobody wants you to lick their ass when you lost all their money.
Right.
How are we going to make the money fucking back?
Right.
And I always had an idea. Then I kicked that up to governments, the Israeli government, the Mexican government, Kuwaiti government, the Canadian government, where I only have to make 2 or 3 presentations and I'd get tens of millions.
But it took forever to get to that
Correct.
point. A lot of hours, a lot
Correct.
of work, and continuing
Correct.
on and
Now,
on.
I was telling last night the couple that we had dinner with, I'm just trying to go from Boston to D.C. for a deal. And I hadn't slept in 2 or 3 days. I'm wearing the same suit from yesterday. I stopped off at a YMCA to take a shower and buy underwear and a new shirt, clean shirt. And you're the person that takes the tickets, and there's the entrance to get on the plane. 20 minutes after the plane takes off, this nice, cute girl comes up to me and says, Sir, are you Mr. Pena? That's close enough, yes. Well, you missed the plane. The next one's in an hour. I missed the first plane, the second plane, and the third plane. And so they gave me tickets to stay at the Hilton, because the Hilton was at the airport. And I said, I'm afraid to go to the hotel because I won't wake up. So I'm going to stay there. I missed the 4th motherfucking plane.
Jesus Christ.
And then finally I got on a plane and I met. And so the people that are waiting at the airport are waiting.
Get day after.
But I never slept. And when they came out with 24-hour markets, where you could trade markets 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
I never slept. Because every
Nonstop.
second I slept wasn't $1 I could be making.
Yep. And that's
And
what
I
you
convinced
said.
enough people, institutional people,
Yeah.
like TWA, pension fund, and a bunch of big, okay. But they didn't think I could stay up those hours. I did.
No problem.
Yeah.
By the 7th day, 8th day, were you starting to see shit?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, no, it was, I got delusional plenty of times. I fell off. In the old days, you used to get on planes on the stairs. You
Oh,
know,
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Too many accidents.
Yeah,
Now it's
I
all-
fell off a couple of stairs. I fell off. The plane was already gone, and I fall off the.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've had some real.
Dingers.
Yeah.
As the
But
story.
I mean, and I got richer and richer, and then I stopped counting the money, and I went through 13 cars in a year.
Do you have a favorite car?
Well, I like my Phantom Rolls.
Yeah,
I haven't driven in 25 years. The Phantom Rolls in the
That's the
back.
most comfortable. Yeah.
To me. But I went through the Ferrari and all that stuff. Sally's off Ferraris now. She doesn't like Ferraris anymore.
No?
No, she drives a convertible
Convertible.
Rolls.
Rolls.
Yeah,
Rolls.
Yeah. So, but I had a AC Cobra, a real one. I've had all kinds of.
I remember one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had all kinds of. But I didn't get them because they cost a lot of money. I just thought it was fun to go driving. Well, I keep thinking we're in Los Angeles. Driving from Long Beach to downtown LA up the Long Beach Freeway, going 190 miles an hour. Where the line is not lines like this; it's one solid line.
Yeah.
And you could put your hand out. I never did it, and
Of course not.
touch the road because the car only weighed 2,200 pounds. It went about then it weighed about 240 miles an hour. I only went 190, and then I gave that car to my youngest son. He has it, and it's tough to get insurance. It's street worthy. I mean, it has passed all the time.
But it doesn't have the current.
But I've been through all that
governance,
shit. Went through planes.
You remember the strips? Remember back in the day, you would take your car on the strip and you'd race each other, like
Yeah.
actually have fun as a kid.
Yeah.
Now they don't have that now either.
No.
Anything at all.
The
Now, when you get to the midway point of QLA, where are you at then? Because in the beginning, it's kind of the breaking down. You're still doing
you're
the same
2,000
structure.
cold calls away from being a millionaire.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And then after after
Now
you follow up, right?
but now
Everybody asks me that all the time.
now with the internet, you're only 1,400 cold calls away. When I started 30 years ago, it was 2,000 cold calls. Now we're down to 1,400, and because a lot of stuff is done by Zoom.
Okay.
I don't promote the Zoom part, but a lot of stuff is done without meeting them face to face, eyeball to eyeball.
Is it down to 1,400 because the students don't keep up to the 2K?
No,
or
it's
it's just not
because
needed?
it's just easier. Because
just easier, yeah.
when I was in Manhattan, and if I had to walk from 2nd Street to 54th Street, that takes time. When I was in Los Angeles or when I was, in Dallas, to fly from Dallas to Oklahoma City took time. Well, now people are comfortable with not meeting you. So now we're down to 1,400.
I don't like that. I hate
I
that.
don't either.
I hate it.
I don't promote it, but
Yeah, but that's the way it's going
Correct.
to. And like I was saying, everyone always asks me after you're on and whatever, messages, bullshit. They always say, does Dan really keep up with you after you finish it? So when you do the seminar.
yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, if you keep running towards a gunfire. No, if you don't.
Right. If you stay
I took the
run through the gun.
yeah. If you
I
keep
love
running
the way
towards
you
a
put
gunfire, yes. And we have had people calling up Kim, who's the assistant that deals with this. I have 5 assistants, but anyway, and Kim maybe once a quarter come. This guy sounds like he may kill himself. Okay, give me his file. Okay. And and I said, no, he's got a lot. He can push a lot harder.
he's not
I don't take his call. I don't.
Yeah.
Now, once in a while, and I'm not proud of it. Once in a while, they'll do something not nice to themselves. But they had already been in self-harming before they ever met me.
Yeah. So they are already in that.
Yeah. But yes, I do. I do follow. If you're running towards a gunfire, we have 2 Gabriels currently in the stable, one of which has done about 55 deals in the last 3 years. And the one that you see on social media getting in and out of his jet, okay, and the smart, hard-working fuck. Then we've got another one that did QLA, what he thought was QLA before he came to the seminar, and he didn't do it right. And right now he's in the middle, and this chairman's taking the company away from him, leaving them for dead, going to force him into bankruptcy.
Well, went to the wrong one.
Yeah.
Went to the wrong one, buddy.
So, but they're both running towards a gunfire, and so I talked to both of them. Okay.
As long as you run toward the gunfire, you're there.
But not everybody gets through unscathed. In fact, hardly anybody gets through unscathed. But but no, I mean, we have kids, not billionaires, but I mean that have made several $100 million I never met. 99% of all the kids that have been successful with QLA I never met.
Well, like you always have said, on your website, everything is there free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah, go to tab 3.
Yeah.
The dummies test is the best, or the Snowflake test is the best
Yeah.
ever. But on that page, I love where you talk about perception, because people get in the way of their own perception. Like this, and especially now, you hear people talk, I'm too skinny, I'm too fat. All they do is put themselves down.
Yeah.
They have a perception that this is what they're going to be. And on your homepage, and you go through it, if you perceive yourself to be a shithead, you're going to be a shithead, right? So how do you incorporate perception, your surroundings?
Well, I mean, you're a product of the 5 people you spend the most time in your life.
Yep.
Now, normally that's, let's say, a mom, an older brother or sister, an uncle, your dad is on the road working, so you don't see much of him, and maybe a grandparent. Okay. Now, ask yourself these questions for the listeners. Would you want, and let's say you don't have any kids, would you want your kid to be a combination of those 5 people? The answer is almost always no.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to switch. And what I say, QLA is transition until you die. From the time you start to the time you die. Your boards that you put together are in transition. Okay. The board that's good for a $5 or $15 million deal is not a board good for a $50 or $100 million deal, and certainly not the same board for a $1 trillion deal, et cetera. So it's those 5 people. So, but upgrading those people, what do you do with your mom? Okay,
Yeah.
what do you do with your grandmother? I had an Indian guy who has been on Godfather series named Ravi, and he has larceny in his heart. He would admit he's got larceny in his heart. He is a preeminent magic carpet salesman. Okay?
Oh.
Yeah. In his mind, the carpet doesn't fly. He doesn't even have a carpet. Okay. But he, when he came to the seminar, he had just given his grandparents a house, his mother and father a house, and one of his siblings a house. Now we're talking $1 million, multi-million pound,
not like
not
200K,
bullshit.
right?
And cars.
Oh, and cars too,
and
of
cars.
course,
And
right?
So I told him, I said, you got to go back and take all this shit back. I mean, he's dark skinned. He turned this color white.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
He
I
flipped
said,
the
well, you
color.
can. And anyway, he now lives next door to Windsor Castle. He's a neighbor of the Queen. Well, God rest the Queen. The King at Windsor Castle. He has a big estate there. And when he went back to take, he's going broke. Everybody called him a lying piece of shit, Indian cocksucker, except his grandmother. His grandmother gave him the keys to the house and gave him the keys to the big car. I says, I understand. It's all right. It's all right. And she didn't want to take it anyway to begin with. But see, most people are pleasers, and so you're buying love or you're buying gratitude, and you're buying smoke up your ass. Okay.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
I used to buy love all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't bought anything since when I'm 12 years old. Eva Cyril, who was the hot chick in the neighborhood, I shoved up against the wall, stuck my knee in her groin, and took her bra off. 12 years old. Okay, and if she were here, she'd tell you the truth. Okay, and she says, I didn't know what rough meant until Danny Pena stuck his knee in my crotch.
You got to get that on a plaque.
Huh? Yeah, well.
The QLA people would love it.
I'm
But,
not so sure.
I don't know.
But anyway, but most people, and I've never, fortunately, I've never given a shit what people think. And that's part of my dad. My dad didn't give a shit what people thought. I.e., your kids don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you do.
Yeah.
And my dad just, we had a funeral a few years ago, and we buried the wife of one of my best friends, who's now also had his funeral.
Sorry to hear that.
At sea, and we're having a big lunch afterwards, and Walt says, and Danny's dad carried a gun, 2 guns. He carried one on his ankle. When my dad wore a pair of trunks, he had a gun on his ankle.
Just regular trunks.
Yeah, and he used to pull his gun out from the side this way. And he says, in the neighborhood, we had a lot of tough guys in my neighborhood, but there was only Dad. And the reason we had to move from that neighborhood is when I almost killed my teacher in grade school. Yeah. And so they threw me out of the school district, not out of the school. And he was just that way. And all his buddies.
What'd you try to drop on the teacher again?
Aquarium.
Yeah, that's right, right.
About a 30, 40-pound aquarium. In hindsight, I wish I would have taken the fish out of the aquarium because the fish all died. But if he hadn't moved 4 or 5 inches,
Done.
He's dead. It hit him in the shoulder. His shoulder was down here. And
as sick as I am, I agree with you. I feel worse about the fish.
yeah,
I really mean that, really.
And it's the same school I'm giving money to, amongst some other schools. But in my neighborhood, if somebody disrespected your sister, there was a fight.
Yeah.
There wasn't a question. Now, whether they were chicken shit and they hit you with bats as you came out of a building, or they man-to-man.
Or jumped you.
Yeah.
One way or another, you were getting
There
beat
was
up.
a fucking fight.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, there was a fight. And so I'd get in trouble and I'd be beat up. And my father said he wasn't interested. Was it in the church? Because if the priest beat me, he beat me again. Didn't matter what I did. If the nuns beat me, he beat me again. Didn't matter. He wasn't interested in that part of the story. You know? Okay. Then he says, what about the other kid? I broke his arm in 7 places.
Oh, boy.
That's my boy.
Good job, right? But how if you only broke his arm in 2 places and you then you got a
I
third
knocked
one?
a guy. In fact, we were at the grammar school a couple years ago. Sally and I were giving money again. And so I said, there used to be a four-square thing here where you bounce the ball back and forth. And we're walking around with the principal. And I said, Sally, right there, I broke a kid's arm in 7 places. And so and then the principal's got tears in his eye. What happened? He says, he was cheating. I said, you cheat one more time, I said I was going to break your neck. But he didn't. So I knocked him down and he fell. And he said, I think my arm's broken. I stomped on it until it was broken.
Which now it is broken.
Yeah, and then I said, here we're playing tetherball. You know, you knock a ball around. I said, a guy's, you know, and I punched him in the face when he had glasses. And I broke the glasses in his eyes. And I was in the principal's office twice before noon, every fucking day.
And your dad kept getting you out of it.
Well, no,
until that jail
time.
time.
In the school, you know, the teachers could hit you.
That's right, different time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 1963, in May of 1963, I received the last legal corporal punishment in the state of California. In June 1st, 1963, you can't hit anybody anymore. This is May 15th, 1820, just before graduation. And I got the last corporal punishment where Hank Leeds, the enforcer, vice president, beat me with like a paddle.
Almost like a gravy spoon.
Yeah.
But wider.
Yeah. But I threatened to burn down the school. I did all kinds of shit. We used to show up in the morning at Coffee Dan's. I don't know if they still have those. Not martinis, Bloody Marys, Coffee Dan's. We're seniors in high school.
Seniors in high school.
And there was a teacher there that used to show up, and we'll just say that he was transgender ahead of his time. But he would take little kids there, and so he knew we were there, and we knew he was there, and just ungodly shit, and that's the way it was. It was a different time.
Different time period, different everything.
Everything.
One thing I saw, I know you had said it before, but I saw when I was scrolling through whatever you're getting into now, and I've had a bunch of neuroscientists on, and they all had said, even the ones that are working with colleges, you know, when you have someone in that's within a college, they tell you one thing, and then someone that isn't being funded, you know, you hear a totally different thing. Well, the funded and non-funded, that people that swear more have a higher IQ.
Oh,
and you have said forever, high performance people swear.
A study came out 3 years ago from Harvard. High performance groups swear more. Low performance groups don't swear at all. They spent $10 million for this study over 15 years.
They could have just asked you.
Fuck. I mean, it's a joke.
Why do you think that is, though?
Arguably, it could be the beginning of woke, even before woke was woke. But
I mean, why do you think? Like, I swear a lot when I shouldn't. You know, you still.
No, there is no when you shouldn't.
Right.
Swearing is more effective because people remember it. When I called you a lazy fucking cunt, you should have never been born, and you should have rolled down the inside of your fat fucking mother's thigh.
Right. You remember that.
They remember that forever.
Right. Great point.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was still in the military where they swore and they beat you, and now you can carry what's called a safe card that you pull out. If you've had too much harassment in the military, you pull out the safe card and you show it to the superior non-commissioned officer or officer, and they leave you alone. In the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy, and West Point, they have safe cards now.
Okay. Last time I checked, they only had it in the Army
No,
and it was
no,
called
well,
a
the
splash
Army
card.
has a special-
Splash card.
Okay,
They have a
well,
splash card.
They have a special program now. You can
Shit.
join as a pussy cunt
Yeah.
wimp, and it's 2 months long because you're not man enough, but you're not in good enough shape to go through the regular boot camp. I remember when I was in boot camp in Fort Ord, California. Everybody, the people were in a room of 200, and the bunks are 3 up. Okay, and they're crying because they're the first time away from mama. But this is around the height of the Vietnam War, and I said, "This is a fucking luxury. This is country club. I mean, my dad is 10 times worse than this fucking place." And then I got gangrene in my hand. And so they were gonna cut my hand off, and so I said, "I just want to make one phone call." I get Dad on the phone. He says, "Are you a malingering asshole? Are you in?" My dad said, "Whatever you do, don't go on sick call. Dead first, not sick call." And I said, "I'm calling from the infirmary." Dad, "Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. You came from my loins. What do you want?" "I got gangrene, and they say that one of the options is cutting my hand off." And he says, "Okay." 25 minutes later, the phone call comes to Fort Ord. Blah, blah, blah. They find me. "We're going to deal with your son's hand. We're not cutting it off." But I mean, it was that bad. My dad still, he was, at that time, he was friends with Duke Machin, I think was the governor. He was, because he was a high-powered guy. And he says, "So that was okay. I'm still embarrassed that you called me."
Meanwhile, you got gangrene, your hand's about to come off, but
Yeah.
but that's the type that we're talking about that makes somebody who they are. I think.
Yeah, and I wasn't the toughest in my group. I was kind of in the bottom third of toughness, but I was always the first one to throw a punch, always. And so, but I wasn't the toughest. The guys that I hung with were tough.
Tough.
Tough guys. And we got our ass kicked in the valley one night because I grabbed the ass of a Marine's girlfriend in a place called Loops. And the restaurant bailed out into the parking lot, and we got our ass kicked by those guys, the Marines. And but other than that, we rarely got beat up.
I don't know about now, but do you think anybody sane wants to be a Marine or a Navy SEAL?
Well, they had a survey in the UK 4 or 5 months ago because they're really worried about a mainland war in Europe now.
They are.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Putin's not going to stop here. He's just not.
You don't think
He's
so?
already told them, I've got rich guys in Hungary that I trained that are getting their assets out of fucking Hungary. But 61% of the kids between 18 and 36 were asked, "Would you fight if England was invaded?" They said no. 61% said no.
I'm not shocked. I'm shocked it's not higher.
No, it was only, I think it'd be higher here.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'd probably be in the 80s here.
Yeah. And and these were people from well-educated, bikers, guys that drive trucks.
Oh, even the truck guys too.
Yeah.
No, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe they don't trust it. I don't know. I mean, here in the U.S., if you got a splash card, so what, I'm going to be the only one fighting is really what's going to happen. So you want me to go to war. I didn't go through the crazy, girl shit, turn a guy into a girl, nut shit. So now I'm going to go to war, and us three and you are going to be the only ones there fighting.
Yeah.
We're going to last about 10 minutes, if that.
Well, now, not the last one, but the next to the last guy that was head of the armed forces for the UK said that Britain would last between 3 and 6 weeks before we'd have to capitulate or surrender in Britain. We have the lowest amount of manpower and guns and bombs and shit like that since the Crimea War in 1885.
Wow. Now, I don't know why you're doing this. I still don't know why you are, but you got yourself into politics over there.
Correct.
I mean, damn. You trying to go crazy?
No, because I've been at the top of my game a long, long time.
I'm just joking.
There's but there's no competition in what I do now.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the process of giving away a lot of money, Sally and I, and the politics. in Scotland is run by a thing called the SNP, Scottish National Party, which are brain dead at best and mentally ill at worst. Every day for the last 2 years, either they're caught stealing, they're caught in this, they're caught in a man grabbing a guy's dick in Parliament, and I mean every day, 3 or 4 times. And so I said here recently on a podcast, they're giving it to me. I should win in a landslide, and I've dissed our 2 local MPs, members of Parliament. I'm supposedly one of the reasons that Nicola Sturgeon resigned as First Minister. And I go after him every fucking day.
Yeah.
Every fucking day I go after him.
If you go to your website and go to pull up Dan's website, if you go to UK News, some funny clips, and I mean, people like us to follow you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even have to manufacture it.
No, it's because it's like true.
Yeah, they do it, and they gerrymandered Scotland. They divided Scotland into 2. Some people say they gerrymandered because of me.
Yeah.
So, and I met the guy that's running in my district, a guy named Dugan. Seemed like a nice guy. I went to an open forum. They were unfortunate because they gave me the mic last. They wish they hadn't given me the fucking mic. But I went over to introduce myself to Mr. Dugan, and he didn't stand up. He shook to shake my hand, and I basically told him that the cow was out of the barn. We're fucked. There's nothing we can do. We're fucked.
Like right here, you put like watching a frog get boiled.
Oh no, that was one of the ladies sat behind me. He says, "This is like watching a frog get boiled." I mean, it's just ludicrous. Huh?
Yeah, I was just reading who you're cooking in there. That just have nothing, nothing to go.
So
that's that's so inspiring that you're still trying to do things.
And I have
like
more
that.
energy than these guys. Sally's already looking at advice, a house in London, because I'm not going to be able to commute back and forth every day. So we're going to get a house down in London. And of course, now they got people stabbing members of Parliament. They have no security.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, I can take care of myself. But although the last town hall meeting we had 7 security guys.
Fuck.
Guys 50% bigger than me. I mean, 7. And because of Sally's worried. And so, but I mean, these guys wouldn't say shit if that was in their mouth.
Right.
But these guys all. I'm having a town hall meeting coming up next month, and then another town hall meeting the month after that, and and I say some just bizarre shit,
Do you enjoy it?
I enjoy speaking. The last town hall meeting I had, I ended it with I'm screaming and ranting and raving, calling everybody a fucking cunt, and I'm the real William Wallace, but I'm a foot taller and I got a 2-foot dick. And I'm going to go into Parliament on a white Charger until the Masters of Arms rip me down. And I'm going to say, like he said at the end of the movie, "Give me freedom!" They go crazy.
They went crazy?
Yeah, they went crazy.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
It's
I
all
want to
over.
jump down and just punch people and choke them and hit them with chairs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You got them. If they went crazy, it's a
They
done
went
deal.
crazy. They went crazy. Now, some people say that nobody said anything because they're afraid of me. Well, Costa Grazos, the CEO of NASA Shipping Lines, 40 years ago said, "If you're not afraid of Mr. Pena, you're brain dead."
Yep.
Because back then, 40 years ago, I was death on wheels.
Good night.
I was a terror.
I wish I could have
And
been.
you could get away with a lot more shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get away with anything. No.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a fucked up world. I met with a very senior guy, political guy, a few weeks ago. He said he's a lawyer. He says it's a race to the bottom and we're winning.
Yeah, you're gonna win.
No, it's a race. The Homo sapien. It's a race to the bottom, and we're winning.
Yeah, it's race to the bottom. Bottom of the barrel. But it's just interesting because you've been around a lot of political people in the U.S. Now you're into this political night and day in the political world.
Yeah. They're much more reserved there.
Right over there. You're not going to get in. Rip your fucking body parts apart.
But it's interesting. And it's because it's 50 states, so we've got a cross-section of humanity. And we've got what we call the migrant problem, immigration problem in the South, mainly Texas, Arizona, et cetera. But, 5,000 migrants cross the North Sea to come into Britain every day.
I saw that.
and 300 died last year, and that's sad. But and because the laws are so liberal, in one of my speeches I said we've been at war on or off for the French for 600-700 years. We never liked the French. The French don't like us. Why can't we stick our foot up the French's ass? Because it's the French's problem. They let them go across the fucking water. They help them get in the fucking boats.
And then they wonder why there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part with all
why
this
don't we do
shit.
something about it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well.
Yeah, and they say you can't do any good as an independent, which I'm running. And this is after I'm screaming and yelling and jumping all over the. And then I said, "You think you're going to shut me up? Are you fucking nuts?" And that's how I'm going to talk.
But they must love it because they got to be sick of the bullshit.
Oh, they are, but they're afraid.
But
because the S&P controls the economy.
They control everything.
Yeah. They've been in power 15, 16 years. And we allowed it to happen. To gain control of one of the local councils, they brought back a convicted pedophile. Served time for touching little kids, okay? If that's the best.
Wait, brought him back into what?
No, but in the local government.
What?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And I said, if that's the fucking best, and I end all my speeches, all I ask of you is listen to the message before you shoot the messenger.
Now I understand what you're doing.
Okay.
I mean, what
but
the fuck?
and he's not the only one. It's sad.
Yeah.
And economically, the S&P control much of Scotland's commerce.
That's interesting. That's interesting how that works over there. Now, in our politics, you got basically what China would do or North Korea would do by just trying to knock out a candidate. What now? As of, I know I asked you last time, but as of now, what's your prediction with Trump? You got.
I think Trump's going to win. It'll be a close race.
But how does he get past what's coming up? The Fannie Willis one's coming up, right? The case, right?
Yeah, but I don't. I heard.
Can't she put him in jail though?
No, they're loath, and the reason why they're loath to convict Trump, no matter what they say, and the reason why they're loath, and they let him off from 350 or 450 million bond to 175, is because you open that fucking door for a president of the United States, an ex-president of the United States, who may get sworn in while he's in fucking jail. I mean, well, you talk about the cow got out of the motherfucking barn. I mean, there's a lot of guys, like they've been fucking around with this Mendez guy, this thief from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. They have respect for just a asshole member of Congress, because once you open that fucking door, you open that fucking door. Let alone the fucking president. Plus, Mendez doesn't know anybody. There's a few Cubans that like him because he's Cuban. He's gay, so some gay people like him. He may be transgender. But other than that, whereas Trump has got an underlying base of, one, terribly rich people. And if he does, and one of the reasons I believe that the billionaires and guys like me, he says he's going to do away with inheritance tax. Well, that means hundreds of millions of dollars to me. Just me, one guy. It means hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. I mean, why would you vote for anybody else?
I mean, I think you will. Roger Stone was in again not too long ago, and I had asked him a bunch of things, like about the vaccine, why he doesn't bring that up, because that would be a big political play for him. And even though that might set him over the edge, let's just say it did. Say him bringing up that the vaccine, we know this info wasn't the greatest idea, whatever you believe. Let's just say he said that. His points would skyrocket up. But Stone was, and he told me before, that once Trump makes a decision, like I'm ending the tax, it doesn't matter what anyone says, what happens. If it ruins the fucking country, he'll never say it was wrong.
Correct.
So if to him, in his mind, the vaccine was wrong, he'll never, ever say, I shouldn't have pushed it that way. He'll never admit he's wrong. In other words, if he gets in, he's going to take it.
You never apologize. You never say you're
right.
wrong.
There you go.
Okay. Now, I know him from the 80s because we shared the same law, big lawyers. I used the same big lawyers as he did, or he still does. And he's just...
Well, then you would know best.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lawyers, I mean, and he doesn't forget anything.
So you think he gets off on all of them?
Pardon?
Well, what worried me was this one coming up because they started the trial,
No,
or they're about to,
yeah,
and then
but
she
I
could
mean,
sentence him.
I don't think he's played all his cards there.
No.
He got unlucky because the judge presiding over it was able to stay when normally she would have gotten thrown out. If she had been white, in my opinion, she would have got thrown out.
Yeah.
But people don't like to believe. They just celebrated, well, O.J. Simpson, they didn't celebrate his death, but I was very close to the LAPD in 1993, 2 and 3, giving money. I'm an honorary member of the bomber squad because I gave them the machines that you go find bombs.
Yeah, congratulations.
Because they couldn't
That's a
find it in
great
the-
thing, man.
They couldn't find it in the budget. And I knew Noguchi, who was the guy, the medical guy for Los Angeles. And at that time, the votes were skewed in favor of him because most of the jury was black. Okay. Whether he was guilty or not, I don't think there's any question. Everybody knows he was guilty, but he got away with it. But he's not the first guy. I mean, a lot of rich guys have gotten away with it.
Sure.
Okay, white. But I mean, he's a guy that has, he's dead now, but he's a guy that has risen above what's legal and what's not. And the people, whether you're white, black, purple, or transgender, or you're an it, are used to using color or whatever as the trump card, pun intended. Trump's got a lot of stuff left. And believe me, if he hasn't already shown, he's not going to roll over and die. And the first thing he'll do is pardon himself in prison and pardon everybody in his dog. And it's going to be like, I'm not equating it to the Civil War, but the fucking Trump will ride again. I mean, and the people that know him realize that if you were on the wrong end of that stick, you're fucked.
Fucked.
Big time.
Yeah.
Plus, the president can do anything. I bring up somebody at Oxford asked me a few years ago, what do you think about 30 of the 32 witnesses about Hillary Clinton's server in the basement have all disappeared, Mr. Pena? What's your opinion on that?
Dead.
Yeah, and I said, is this a plant? Is this a joke, kid? And I said, they're gone. Benito, dead. Yeah. And why have all the government investigations died? Same reason. I mean, because if you press too hard, your career in the FBI's gone, your career is gone.
What happened to Obama's chef? He just took a swim in the fucking lake.
A world-class swimmer, okay, who died 3 days before the book's published. You know?
In the fucking lake.
Yeah.
But he can't swim, I guess. Right?
It's just and not dissimilar to Marilyn Monroe as we started.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in L.A. Knew how she died. I mean, the cab driver coming from the airport would tell you the local news. He'd tell you, the two cops. I happen to know the two cops that supposedly found the body because they were asshole buddies of my dad. Okay?
Oh, wow.
They used to work for my dad. I mean, you're crazy if you think you're going to say that the CIA or whoever whacked him. I mean, you're insane to think that was going to come out.
Yeah, right. But now when you get into Trump, so whatever with the cases, how does he cheat better? Because to me, it's not who's going to win. To me, it's if it was a fair election, he would win by a fucking landslide. But it's not going to be fair. So my question would be then, how does he cheat better than them? Because it's not, I mean...
Well, he's already put up the idea that all the polling places have to have, not monitors, but something like that, okay? And how they can be unbiased, I don't know how you do that. But it's not dissimilar to how John Kennedy won Chicago, how Obama won Chicago, how more people voted in those two elections than have ever been born in Chicago. Jack Kennedy's dad fixed it with the mafia and the unions the first time around, and Obama, who was part of that syndrome, and the black politicians may or may not have fixed it the second time around. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Was there cheating in the election? I'm sure there was. How much? I have no idea. Nobody knows. And nobody really wants to know.
Right. Nobody really wants to know.
Yeah.
Now, you put something on Twitter that was great. Good. Business deals start and end with people. Pull up tab 4. That was really a good one I saw on Twitter, because if you don't have the right people around you, what did you mean by that?
Well, remember, you're an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, okay? And the unfortunate thing about it is you don't pick those 5 people consciously. You pick those 5 people by serendipity, you know. Like our daughter said when she was 15 or 18 years old, I don't care about poor people, Daddy. She is backed up on this. I chose to be rich. And if you didn't want us acting like this, maybe you shouldn't have had any children. Most people have children for the wrong reasons. Most people get married for the wrong reasons. And if you don't have the right people, and that's why rich people figured this out a long, long time ago, back in the UK, when they send them to the private schools, because if poorness rubs off, richness rubs off. If you hang around with nothing but rich people, okay, one, you're more likely to mate with a rich person, which prolongs the legacy of both families. But just as importantly, you know how to use the right forks, the right knives. You know when to stand up and when not to stand up at a table. You know where to put the napkin on. You know all these things. So there's a whole myriad of things you don't have to be taught. And our kids went to those schools, okay? But now drugs has infiltrated all those schools. So now it's just as likely that the 14th baronet of douchebag has got shit for brains because he rotted it with cocaine in the United Kingdom. And it's just as likely at the rich schools that our kids went to here, although it's 25, 30 years ago, their brains are rotted with whatever they're rotting now. But I mean, now kids can get high with not addictive, but legal stuff, the synthetic drugs.
That are even worse than the actual drug itself.
Of course,
yeah.
and they haven't been around long enough for them to know what the impact will be.
What's your thoughts on drugs being illegal or illegal? You've been around to all the countries.
Yeah,
You've
well,
been in Portugal.
I skipped the drug phenomenon, and I've said this.
But I just like say if you're in charge, what would you do with that? Would you make it legal and just tax the fuck out of it?
Well, there's a to me, although people say everybody more or less starts with the soft drugs that work their way up.
Right.
Okay. Having never done a soft drug, so it's hard for me to relate to. But alcohol is a drug. Okay. And there's not many white, black, or purple people that had more alcohol than I have. And so almost drinking myself to death when I was once 17 years old. But your liver, as opposed to other things, can rejuvenate.
Right.
And if there was ever a case study that should have been done, is about my liver. Okay? Okay? And my liver and my dad drank every single day from the day he was 18, since he missed the 1936 Olympics, to 78. He drank from 18 to 78. And
Every day from 18 to 78.
78. He drank at least a fifth of whiskey.
A day?
A day. And in those days, there used to be in the White House, the military, the CIA, the FBI, and the local police forces, 3 martini lunch. It was in your fucking 3 martini lunch. That's what you could have.
I almost don't think that's a bad idea.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a good way to stay calm and relax and work better.
Yeah, now,
I really do.
when we were, where were we? When we had dinner the first night we were here, they brought a martini that was in a glass about that big. Okay.
What'd you have to say about that?
Well, I ordered 2. My wife always says, "Mr. Pena, my husband will have another one." But I mean, in some they it's a martini glass, maybe equivalent to this. But in those days, 3 martini lunch. I remember going to when I came back from the military, and I went to lunch with my dad, and there used to be a place across the street from Parker Center, downtown Los Angeles, called the Stakeout. It was owned by 3 active duty detectives. And they used to bring you a martini glass, but it was like a tumbler that was up to your finger like this, okay? And they'd put maybe 2 ice cubes in it and fill it up with vodka or gin, or sometimes both, and a dash of vermouth. And that was 1 martini. Okay.
So it was like in the Wolf of Wall Street movie with Matthew McConaughey and whoever, Leonardo, right? not at that part, it wasn't Leonardo, but they asked for the martini, the Wall Street, one after another, like that, right?
On Wall Street,
Fucking nutcase.
they, of course, then they slipped into cocaine. But I mean, everybody was buzzed. I remember I came from a meeting. I was still drunk from the night before, and a guy named Bruce McMahon.
Bruce McMahon.
Yeah, was a partner. And he said that this guy, and there was a special drink, I forget what it's called, but it had a massive amount of alcohol. So it was some of the snake that from the night before it's supposedly to take away some of the drunkenness. But now, I mean, there's a trend in across the United States, kids drink less, or they drink these fruity duty drinks. But that's not going to help them. I mean, they have to be reborn.
Yeah.
And they should have rolled down instead of one of those 400,000 sperm that made it up the old lady's crack. You should have dropped off on the floor
Just fell from the floor.
or whatever, or not even. I was being ridiculed a few months ago, maybe a couple of years ago, that my sperm count was 1,800, and nobody believed me. And somebody actually not filed a lawsuit. I forget what he did. And we found my medical. This is from 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, lawsuit.
Your average sperm for a healthy guy is between 400 and 800. 400 the count, sperm count. Okay. Mine has all my life has been at least 1,200. At that period of time, it was 1,800, and I've had it as much as 2,500. That's uninduced. No shit. Okay.
Your dad was probably like that.
My
too.
dad, my dad was, but he had a lot of muscle tone, natural muscles.
Natural.
Okay, he was natural. He had 19-inch arms, and he never lifted a weight, but he was a gymnast. Okay, he was an all-American gymnast.
That's big shit.
But I was, I probably couldn't do a pull-up until I was in the military. I was not able to do a pull-up until I was in the military.
Do you think they should let steroids in NFL, military, all that? Like, do you think China's guys are on steroids?
No,
Russia
they're
guys?
not, but it's how do you keep it out?
How you keep it out altogether? Yeah.
There's supposedly a Olympics, drug-free Olympics coming up, supposedly, but it's come up every 5 or 10 years, and it always gets voted down.
Do they have, what was that? The steroid Olympics they have now, or steroid something? They have a steroid league now. I think it's the steroid Olympics. Yeah, if you type in the steroid Olympics. The steroid Olympics, they're doing it. Like, it's a legal thing. They're probably doing it in Netherlands, somewhere where they can do it. Anything to make money, like the UFL bullshit, everything else. But do you see the interest rate going down anytime soon?
No.
No, you don't. Okay, now let's take a look at AI. Where do you see us in 5 years?
5 years, I won't be talking to you.
No.
There'll be, what do you call it?
Like a CGI of me or a hologram.
There was a hologram at the Heathrow Airport, a really attractive, good-looking girl and skin-tight pants. And she said, "Hi, how are you?" Now, in 2 years from now, because of an implant or something, they're going, "Hi, how are you, Dan? How's your attractive wife, Sally?" I mean, we're only 2 years away from that.
Do you think we're 2 years away from them being able to go?
Or it's in your watch or something.
Something, okay.
Or it's in your it's in your whoever makes your shirts or wherever you buy your shirts.
And then
We have the ability to do a lot of this shit. A lot of this shit that's on TV, not TV, but in the movies, already exists.
how do you see the timeline? You know, George.
Let me say
Yeah,
something before I
go,
forget.
sure.
Okay. I know categorically that we have a cure for climate change today. Categorically. Not 1%, not 50%, not 80%, 100 motherfucking percent. And it's been worked on at Cambridge, Caltech, MIT, and one other. And they've been working on it scientifically. It's a scientific cure. Just like when we used to do Agent Orange in Vietnam to make it rain more, et cetera, et cetera. We have. And otherwise, why are they still building shit in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Why is the Netherlands hasn't been abandoned? Why hasn't Venice been abandoned? Why hasn't Manhattan been abandoned? Why hasn't everything from the San Andreas Fault in California west been abandoned?
Looks like they're building to me.
Yeah, because it's a load of cock.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're building quite a fucking bit to me.
Okay, and so it's some of my the guys that live around the corner, etc., from the former President Trump. I mean, why are they? How could you get a building permit here?
Well, who's gonna
Another thing
prove it?
is when I was here last to see you, they had just said that Trump's house wasn't worth 200 million or 180, whatever it was.
They said 18 million.
Yeah, but wait, 18 million.
Yeah.
And then Sally and I went and looked at the houses.
Yeah.
Okay, the house to the left of him is 54 million. The house across the street from him is 68 million. But he's 18,
small.
and he's got 50 times more land.
Yeah.
What a load of shit.
How do you fucking get away with that?
Well,
And then the judge takes all
and especially this is supposedly got a Republican governor, former governor, my former lawyer Rick Scott, former Senator Rick Scott.
I forgot you used to deal with him.
And they get away with it because if you donate $250,000 to a political party, you own the party, more or less. I gave $100,000 to the Democratic Party in 1988 when they wanted me to run for governor of California. Chuck Manat, the former head of the Democratic National Party, took me to the National Convention as his guest on the back of my $100,000 donation or whatever. And the money talks. I mean, you don't have titles to sell here. You can't buy a knighthood or a baronet or a lord thing, but you have the equivalent. You donate money, and where your political persuasion is. Three-quarters of Florida would be gone. At the best scenario is 3 meters water increase. That's 10 feet.
And didn't they start building bridges or something like 2 meters higher? Like nothing that would ever hurt anything, but brand new bridges that take 10 years to make. They had already figured out that it was only going to be a little bit.
Yeah, but and so far we haven't even reached that. They have interesting pictures. You take a picture of the Statue of Liberty in 1895, and you take a picture of the Statue of Liberty in 2020. And you account for all. The water line is 2 inches higher from 1895 to 2020, 2 inches higher, and they use it as a study in the architectural schools. Okay, they're not building bridges other than a few that you alluded to, because everybody knows. Another thing that we learned in South Pole is that, do you realize that another ice age is between 5,000 and 7,000 years away? They told me. I don't give a fuck. I'm long gone.
We're dead by then.
My house has been around 550 years. It's going to be around another 550. And by the way, Guthrie Castle is 600 feet above sea level.
Damn.
The worst case scenario is not going to go 600 feet. So, and they also said, do you realize there can be a reverse of climate change in 50 months? A complete reversal.
Isn't it like when you were talking? Didn't they say it was a cycle? It's just a cycle that has happened a gazillion trillion times.
Yeah, and but it was 1.8 degrees warmer 55,000, or now it's 55,010 years ago, because we were there 10 years ago. It's ludicrous.
Did you guys ever believe in the climate change ever? Did you ever believe that it was real?
I thought about it at times where people are saying, don't buy real estate in Florida. I've been being told that for 15 years, and I regret it every day. People send me maps of if the sea level goes up 280 feet, how half the East Coast is gone. And
yeah, well, it's not. Best case scenario is 3 meters. Worst case scenario is 10 meters, 30 feet.
Neither of which would really. What's it going to do?
Well, it's not going to go up at all.
Yeah, it's not going to do anything.
You look at the long-term prognosticators, other than me, if you bet against all of them, why, what's the part in Florida where it's a strip? Intercoastal, there's water in...
Intercoastal?
Yeah.
Intercoastal,
okay.
yeah.
All that's gone,
Yeah.
including Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. And one of my mentees who lives kind of catty-corner from Mr. Trump, all those big houses, and we went to look at them, Sally and I, how they could say it's only worth $18 million is a scam.
there's just a lot of land about three properties down. It's a lot. Like, driveway to park your car in, and then some land, maybe 2-3 acres, 70 million. 70 million. And then the one next to it we saw, 200 million. A fucking lot. We're not talking like buildings with hotel, with rooms and everything else. Now, in the community of Wall Street builders, people like yourself, when they see them do that to an entrepreneur like Trump, you would never fucking build in New York now, would you?
No.
If you rent that.
I would buy, I had an opportunity a few months ago to buy 75 floors building because they stopped making payments. But unlike Middle Eastern, they foreclosed, and it was on the books for 11 million or something like that. And the one of a rich guy that you know his name that I know, but I passed.
Why did you pass? I want to know why your mind passes and accepts.
Not because it was only a couple million, but it goes against everything I believe in. I know. One, it's not insider information. Everybody knows the St. Louis building sold for $2.3 fucking million. Whether they want to admit it or not, that's a whole different thing. But I don't. I have enough money for Sally to live 10 lifetimes. And I created I achieved my goals, not created my goals, of all these things. But, I'm not interested in building another fortune. I'm just not. And plus, let's say we bought that building in St. Louis. A couple of us. I mean, I don't even need a couple, me. 2.3 million. Now what am I going to do with it? Okay. That's a 20-year project.
Oh,
I need a 20-year project like I need AIDS.
Right. Right.
It's like me at almost 80 marrying a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
She could maybe fuck me to death. I don't need that. I don't need that. And so, plus, I got other interests. I'm spending a lot of time giving my money away. And by the way, it's not as easy to give away money. It's harder to earn it than give it away, because everybody's worried about money laundering and this, that, and the other thing. And where does the money come from? And
where'd you get it, Dan? Right?
Well, I can prove fucking every penny I got.
Sure.
And
you do so many great
things.
things.
And I'm one of the few guys that pays taxes. A lot of guys don't pay taxes. A lot of guys think it's a divine inherent right. If you get super rich, is that you don't pay taxes. Okay, I'm not one of those guys. I pay, although I pay high taxes. With the local tax in Britain, I pay a little less than 60%.
How much?
60, a little less than 60.
My goodness.
If you're in New York City, you pay about 70. Fuck. New York City tax, et cetera, and all that shit. That's why a lot of guys, including Elon Musk, is moving to Texas where there's no state tax, or moving to Florida where there's no state tax. And a lot of guys move to Florida because you can ring fence your home, and even if you go bankrupt, they can't take it away from you.
Did you know that bracket was that?
I didn't know. I never heard 70% before. That's...
Wow.
We were in the first major distribution weed in Canada, and growing, and made deals with the cities and the counties. They all reneged on when they realized how much money was really involved. But now weed has gone from, I forget what it was, a kilo down to, it's really been reduced in price. At that time, in 2017, 18, 19, the real money was exporting. Exporting to foreign countries. And but there's so many ways. There's these podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the thing now. Nobody even watches TV anymore. You already know this, but it threw me off. The generation under me, say mid-20s, late 30s, what do you do when you're what do you listen to when you're at the gym? You know what they say? Video games, Twitch. I didn't really know what Twitch was. They're like, you should go on Twitch. What's Twitch? So you go to the gym and you listen to other people play a video game. And then when you go home, before bed, you watch Twitch and watch other people playing video games. That's what they fucking do. They go to the gym listening to other people play video games. Mm-hmm. Not real sure, really fucking
beyond me. I don't know about that.
Crazy. So tell me how you think AI is going to go. So you think in 2-3 years they're going to start
not going to be a guy there.
No, 2-3 years. Give me your timeline that you think.
Well, right now, 40% of the people in the United States Army will not pick up a gun. Already in the Army.
Really?
Our future,
Could you say that again, please?
40%, about 40% of people enlisted in the United States Army. This is not counting reserve.
Right.
If you count reserve, it's up by 70, 80%. Won't touch a gun. And you can't make them touch a gun.
Right.
Part of taking the oath, blah, 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 is not that you're going to touch a gun. They all think they're going to be involved in,
Pressing buttons.
drones.
Yeah, buttons, controllers.
Yeah. But okay. So based on that, we, in the next 10 to 20 years, we will not be able to defend America. Just as right now, 61% will not defend the UK. That's just it. It's written in stone. If you Google the new recruitment videos for the United States Army,
I know it's wild.
it's beyond being a wuss. I don't know what beyond being a wuss is, but I mean, we have, and they have no program. Like they say, this is not your father's boot camp, is how they started out. And then they showed, and they have a kind of a tough black drill sergeant kind of guy, and he says, we're here to encourage them.
Oh, boy.
And I never heard that kind of word out of.
Oh, boy.
I still remember I had a black drill sergeant named Rux, and he's 7. If you're gonna act like a motherfucking dog, Pena, I'm gonna treat you like a motherfucking dog. You wetback Mexican. They should have stopped you at the goddamn border. Of course, my mother swam across the Rio Grande River with my grandmother in 1924. All that's true, but you can't say that. They don't talk that way anymore. When I was at the Naval Academy speaking, when that picture was taken on the right, they had they're called midshipmen, but the first row is all gals. Cutie pies, really cute.
And they were called what? Midshipmen?
Midshipmen, that's what you call them
Yeah.
at the Naval Academy.
Wow.
And so I asked the girls, I says, we don't call you ma'am, right? No, she says, that's what we call female officers, sir. And he says, okay, girls, why do they call you midshipmen? And so then the girls point behind where the commandant of the Naval Academy is sitting in the bleachers, or not bleachers, in the up high seats. And then he said, tradition! That was the answer why. It didn't matter if they were fucking women, they squatted the pee. They were midshipmen, and they will always be midshipmen. Now, I don't believe that.
Right.
I told him later, with the greatest respect, Admiral, you may not live to see it, but these girls that squat to go to the bathroom will be called something else, in their lifetimes, maybe not your lifetime. The world, because everybody wants to be liked, even you.
Yeah.
If you're even a shade of pleaser, you're a cunt. You're
right.
Cunt. In the caveman days, 40 to 60,000 years ago, depending on who you want to believe, what study, if he walks by with a good-looking rag, I hit him in the head with a club, kill him, maybe eat him too, and then take his bitch off and fuck her in the ass.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
Well,
That's
we
just
have
the
it
way-
in our loins. I have a big speech. We have it in our loins. And when I give my William Wallace speech to the morons in Britain, are there anybody William Wallace in this crowd, or are you all cunts, vaginas? I used to put vagina cream on the desk. And I show you how to use this shit, you fucking worms. And then some little girl says, my great-grandfather was named William Wallace after William Wallace. Well, I'd be ashamed. I wouldn't be bringing it up in a crowd. A mixed crowd, somebody might hurt you. Shut up, sit down. But I get away with a lot of shit. Nobody talks like I talk,
But it works and it's effective.
It's not for everybody.
Well, I guess not for everybody,
Okay,
but
not for everybody. It works if somewhere down deep in the recesses of your either black heart, or where your heart's supposed to be, or your intestines, or as in Britain they say intestines, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
you got to want it.
You got to want it more than you breathe.
Yeah.
And I fell into that category. But like I say, money's not everything, but it's the only thing people keep track of.
Last thing, I don't want to make you late for dinner, so you come back next time you're around. When do you, with however many border people are coming in? I mean, I think
Here or Britain?
both,
Okay.
for Christ's sake. But I mean, for here, say U.S., I think a terrorist attack of some sort
We're
is
a soft
imminent.
touch.
We're soft touch, right? do you think grid, like power grid, what do you think they're going to do? Because they're going to fucking do something. And what do you think it will be and when? Give or take.
I'm surprised it hasn't already happened.
Me too.
I've had inland security officers come to the seminar that are getting ready to retire, and they say it's 10 times worse than you see on TV.
Yeah.
It's 10 times more mismanaged than you see on TV. People are afraid to say what they think, and it's just like the cops. You can't touch anybody. You know, 30 or 40% of the policemen, law enforcement in Britain are putting in for early retirement. And one, they don't carry a fucking gun. Two, if you use a taser, you're up for a review for 6 months. You know, they take you off the street.
Fuck that place.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is going to be a cop there?
Yeah. No,
I mean, you got to be nuts.
Yeah. And but here, I mean, if you go to look at the news, French news, German news, Italian news, these people that are protesting, etc. I'm not suggesting you should do that. They beat them half to fucking death.
Yeah.
They leave 2 breaths in them when they put them in the ambulance, hoping, this is one man's opinion, hoping that they die on the way to the fucking emergency room.
And sends a message to the others.
Yeah, and they have these people that are blocking traffic because of oil in the North Sea. Okay? In Britain, they let them get away with this shit. You go to Germany, they run over you in the fucking police cars. They run over you.
See ya.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they beat you. And some girl 5 or 6 months ago in Portugal got stuck on the bumper somehow. And they drug her. Now, did they know she was on the bumper? Yeah. They drug her 2.5 miles.
Jesus Christ. But they didn't hear the clunking on the side?
Yeah. I mean, and then the chief of police, God love him, he gets up and he tries to look sincere. And he says, it was an accident. I stand behind the officers, like he's supposed to say, you know. I stand behind the officers, and obviously if we had known, and I thought he was going to start laughing, but he didn't. Obviously, if we had known that there was a human being there, I mean, we would have done everything humanly possible to make sure that we stopped the vehicle.
We would have done everything humanly possible.
Yeah,
Well, that is funny.
She's obviously dead.
Right. Yeah, sure you would have.
Yeah.
What happens in the U.S., Mr. Pena?
Well,
what do you think?
In the U.S.,
Power grid type thing?
well, I don't know. I don't know what they call it. But see, I'm more in favor of the kind of law they practice in Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, New Mexico. I mean,
shoot to kill.
No, well, no, there was 2 great cases that happened in the last couple of years. A 13-year-old kid in Houston, Texas. Somebody's breaking and entering. Okay, and he was in the basement playing video games, and they had all the lights in the upper house. This is a rich neighborhood in Houston. River Oaks. And so the guy, somebody breaks in. So they say, hey, well, there's 2 people upstairs. Hey, let's go down this staircase into the basement. And so the kid can't remember if he said, I'm armed with a weapon downstairs. He can't remember that. Okay. I'm here to say he probably didn't say it. So the first guy comes down the stairs. He puts 3 right in his chest and puts 2 in the heart of the other guy. Okay. Both dead. They had a grand jury. Grand jury said, whatever they call it, innocent. Okay. A year or so later, same Houston area, a guy beats a pedophile to death with his hands because he had molested his 7 or 8 or 9-year-old daughter. Now, one, how did the cops allow the father? But that's a whole other story.
That's no one, right?
But with his hands, and he crushed his skull. I mean, big guy. Crushed his skull, his face looked, I mean, like this. And he says, I'm sorry for what I did. But I'm not sorry for killing him. Now, I'm more at that end of the justice.
Right. I mean, I think anybody with half a brain would be.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
mean,
just my opinion.
I've told people in the seminar, you molest my family, I'm going to erase your DNA from the planet.
And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Well, a lot of people wouldn't.
Well,
the same people that take the test.
I mean, right. But I mean, in my opinion, what good person wouldn't? That's what I would say.
My pregnant daughter-in-law, when one of the things came up, she says, when she was 7 months pregnant, I'll jump on his ass and beat him with a brick. Okay, she's
That's awesome. You know it's a Pena, right?
Yeah. And okay, kids.
All right, so we
enjoyed
got QLA coming up, right? We're gonna have that on the website.
Yeah, but May sold out, so the next one is July, August sometime. We still have a lot of interest, and now the deals have gone from 2,000 cold calls to 1,400 cold calls. But more importantly, the size of the deals are up about 40-50%, meaning that the first deal normally is about $1 million, whatever the currency is, except for in China. But the guys were a known commodity here in Florida. We have a lot of guys. I won't say we own the Hispanic market in Southern Florida.
Getting pretty close there, buddy.
But we more or less own it. And the accountants know us. It's a lucrative market. But reading a book isn't the same. The best bang for your buck on my side, even though everything's free, is the book that's in digital form, which about 1.6 million or 1.7 million people have downloaded. And it's the best bang for your buck. It's free. Everything's free. But you've got to take action and pull the trigger. And I'm not familiar. There's a whole bunch of forums that I don't promote that they answer each other's questions because the best teacher, unfortunately, is doing something wrong first. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I enjoyed it very much.
And we'll have all that.
In Florida.
Yeah, please do. We'll have all that at the top of the description. Please go check it out. And those just wondering, go look at Dan's Instagram or Facebook, because you'll see a new person literally every other day that hit another deal. Fucking guy's got this car, this house.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just very motivating to see if you want to be
Yeah,
something.
and we're active. But I don't sponsor anybody, so there's 100 mini-me's out there, but I have nothing to do with any of them. But just take the information. It's for free, and just keep swinging at the back and keep running towards the gunfire.
This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest-growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below.